There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth, and always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth, and always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Hello.
Morning, sunshine.
What's up?
Hey, I was napping too. It's all right.
Oh.
You said you got that magic recliner. Now fit my new place. I'm going to figure out ask you what the recliner you got.
Put your ass to sleep, boy.
Bring Rich up a little bit in your headphones there.
No, I'm good.
He seems rather quiet. Bring it up.
He's just waking up. It's soft spoken. It's good morning, Rich.
Marissa McChaney?
Who's
Yeah,
that?
I have no idea. Some bitch just sent me a contact request on Skype.
Oh, yeah, those are Skype bots.
Gotcha.
I report all that shit on Instagram and shit. Just like, some girl in her underwear saying, like, I live kind of near you and like sex. They have, like, no followers, but they follow, like, 20,000 people, and they have 2 posts, and both of them are links that are gibberish. I report all that shit.
Oh, that shit's all over Twitter. You know who does a good job with keeping that shit away is fucking Fuckerberg. Facebook does a good job with keeping that shit at bay.
Amazingly.
I used to get a lot more of those, like half naked women who I have no idea who they are, and they're like,
Yeah, I used to get a lot more half-naked women, too, Rich. Tell me about it.
But yeah, I get friend requests. Hey, remember me? I'm like, no.
No?
Oh, we went to school together. I'm like, nah, bitch. If we went to school together and I knew you back then, I think I remember that. So
the thing is, there was a short period in the early birth of the internet where there was some clever baiting going on that was successful in a lot of ways because, using things like that. Like I went to school with you, or, we shared some common link, or, some third cousin or something like that. Or even the Nigerian prince.
Some kind of baiting I had going
was
on.
like usually in the form of a well-written letter that, if you had other facts to back this up, would seem legit on its own. But now it's just nonsense. Now it's just fucking garbled nonsense. And it's because people don't speak English. But they're not making even any attempt to, like, the capitalization is very strange. There's, like, either no punctuation or all punctuation. Did you experience this?
It's a lot of it's coming from other... This could dovetail nicely into stuff about the national news. So let's just start the show.
Oh, yes.
Get this bitch underway.
Yes, sir. Very
Christopher
good.
Media. Let's make some noise. From Asthma Core Studios near Detroit, Michigan. It's unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
Alrighty. What is it, 162?
162.
yeah, 162.
Yeah.
Very professional segue.
Yeah. Chris.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Rich.
And that audience is what we call cold open into a segue.
Apparently, we got trolled hard as a country.
Our country.
Over the last year. Like, so what is that like troll level 1 million that Donald Trump got elected?
It's been going on longer than that. If you're talking about Russian trolling, like fake news, shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
Washington Post was reporting on this as of 2014. There's actually been a lot of, it's surprising how little we talk about this outside of, like, Samantha Bee had that program where she was she actually interviewed Russian hackers. or not even hackers. They were just people who were in charge of
People who
making
were
up news stories.
Paid to troll.
Yeah. Well, yes, troll, but it seemed like their focus was more. Excuse me. It seemed like their focus was more on actually creating stories, or this fake news that we've been hearing so much about. All of a sudden,
misinformation and counterintelligence is something that's not even
right.
It's not even a secret that's constantly happening between governments and
how did we get on the internet from you can't trust anything on the internet to trusting everything on the internet to being shocked that there's fake news on the internet?
Well, I think
because we have no attention span.
Yeah, we're fucking. Listen, I always thought I was being a tad over cynical about how dumb we are. I was proven right on November 8th. And it's crazy how much Aaron, we've talked about this. I'm sure we've talked about this as a group before. The act of referencing is dead. It is a dead art. And I think that's half the damn problem. So many times I'll see a meme that somebody throws up and thinks they're doing a good fucking job. And the meme is so full of misinformation. Like, when I look at anything on social media, I look where it fucking comes from. Like, I don't think we do that as a group anymore.
It's interesting because I think I've told you guys before that I work in an office with heavily Trump supporters in my office. And they don't talk a lot of politics, but when they do, I just grit my teeth and bear it.
It's like an MF family stuff.
I so want to, like, counter a lot of, and not in like a confrontational way of just like, just slide in like, hey, have you read this piece, or maybe you're not aware of this, but it's not even worth getting into that discussion because I have to work with these people every day.
You're outnumbered. That's how it is at family functions for me now.
Right. But so one of them was ranting about, so sick of all this fake news. There's so much fake news out there. You don't even know what to trust anymore.
Well, that's
all this fake news. Well, hold on, let me finish.
That's how your boy won.
He says, I mean, look at all this stuff. Like, I can't even read the New York Times and the Washington Post anymore because it's all like fake news. I just ignore all that shit. I'm like, that's...
But I bet you trust BuzzFeed.
That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
When we're talking about fake news. We're not talking about, decades-old institutions. But now...
Well, it's not even... I mean, it's...
Fake news is what you decide to believe not to be true. It goes under the category of fake news, right? Instead of just saying, like, stories that were purely false that were made to either troll a certain group of people or just used as a misinformation campaign. Did I make the difference clear there? I'm not sure.
Yeah. And to add to it, once again, the same shit that Trump was spouting about, I want to build a wall and deport people back to Mexico and stop immigration of refugees from countries that harbor known terrorists and all this shit. They were saying all that shit back in 2008. The difference was he said it in a way that just got people to actually believe he was going to do it versus, I guess, the low energy pool of candidates from 2008. But they were saying the exact same shit back then. Right. No one seems to remember that. No one. I mean, they were like, oh my God, it's so horrible. Do you believe Trump is saying this shit? Well, when McCain was saying this shit in 2008, no one blinked an eye.
Right. We used to say, I remember, I don't know, you'd listen to radio shows or something, or watch TV, or somebody on Bill Maher would say, on the internet. Oh, the internet's not a source. But we used to say that about the internet, that the internet is not a source.
If used the right way, it is the source.
But we also used to laugh at the idea of Wikipedia. Anybody can edit. You can't trust anything that goes up on Wikipedia.
Yeah, Mandy and I had this lively morning discussions.
But now it's because...
When did Wikipedia... I would not jump the shark. It'd probably be the reverse for Wikipedia. Because it used to be, don't trust a fucking thing, Wikipedia says.
Right.
And now it's the ultimate source.
Right.
But you have to cite your sources if you post something on there. If not,
right.
They usually say...
It turns out to be a really good system, actually.
This isn't backed up. I mean, you have to point to an interview, an article from a
Right.
reputable source for them not to call bullshit on it.
But the outrage here is that we let Facebook into our homes. We thought, Facebook, you were different. And then we found out that Facebook was bringing home fake news. And now we're fake news outraged at the internet again. And we're confused. We're out there browsing, like, bewildered. Like, I don't even know who to trust anymore. The Washington Post says that Donald Trump is a bigot. I don't know. It could be fake.
People, it's just very simple. Read where the information is coming from.
Right. I mean, if there was a modicum of research done with this guy who showed up at the pizzeria, right?
Oh boy, that guy.
With was it an AR-15? He showed up with a weapon, and he was there to investigate. Ma'am, I'm here to get to the bottom of this child porn ring that's going on here.
You know all them Sherlock Holmes novels, Holmes and Watson, both they investigated by packing heat. Hey, we're here to investigate. Click,
yeah,
click.
and we're heavily fucking armed too.
Yeah,
right. But I guess the dangerous thing here is that they hear it from more than one source. You know, if they listen to Alex Jones, is that the one who was spouting off a lot of this Pizzagate issue? Probably.
He's never met a conspiracy theory he doesn't like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's insane.
Even if they contradict each other, he'll spout this. He'll in an hour. Like, I've actually sat and listened to, like, when Doug Stanhope or Patrice O'Neill is on, I'll listen to like an hour that they were on YouTube or something. And in that hour, he will spout out so many different conspiracy theories, all of which are contradicting each other. And it's just, I don't think anyone calls him on it because it's like he's coked up to the gills and he's rapid fire jumping from one conspiracy theory to the other. You can't keep up. Either that or his guests are like, well, he's just so full of shit, I'm just here for the free fucking publicity anyways.
Do you think he believes any of his own bullshit? How many...
No, I think Alex Jones got mortgage payments and he's got a shtick.
Yeah.
And
that's why nobody,
his shtick now.
No matter how many times Glenn Beck tries to cleanse himself of the lies that he spouts on a constant basis, nobody has any reason to trust him anymore because he doesn't believe himself, obviously. He's just fishing for an audience constantly.
Yeah, I think the thing, though, with Alex Jones is, yeah, you're doing your shtick, but your shtick is fucking dangerous. At least with the pack of dumbasses that...
Right.
Are our fellow citizens nowadays.
You know, I do think that Alex Jones is a more dangerous version of Glenn Beck, by far. He makes Glenn Beck look tame.
Well, Alex Jones does something that Glenn Beck doesn't do, which is, I don't know where he gets his backing from, his financial backing, but I mean, he's constantly putting out these so-called documentaries.
InfoWars shit. I remember watching that shit back in the day before I really knew. And just because I was interested in conspiracy theories in general, not that I believed any of them, it tickled the same bone as like a reading Pulp Fiction or like a comic book that you know is ridiculous, but you still are like, this is awesome. You know, watching a bad horror movie, shit like that. You know, it was entertainment.
Something I've noticed also with him is that but during the Bush administration, he would put these documentaries out about 9/11, how it was an inside job, and the Bush administration was at very least compliant, at worst had a hand in bringing about 9/11. Then Obama got elected, and he went off the rails to the right. Like it was, now it's all, you know, he's Obama's a communist, and he's from a different country, and it's a Manchurian candidate for real, and the only thing that was going to save us was Donald Trump and the extreme right wing. And I mean, I don't know. To me, that tells me all I need to know. He found his audience, and his audience is the crazy people on the far right.
Disenfranchised whitey.
So he panders to them. Because 16 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it was, all he was doing was talking anti-Bush administration shit because of 9/11. Now he hardly even mentions that type of stuff. Now it's just, we're marching into we're being delivered up to to communism by Obama, the Kenyan Muslim who eats babies or whatever the fuck, and Donald Trump's the only person that's going to save us. Which now it's going to be interesting, because the worst thing for guys like him is for people that he supports to be in power, because now it's going to be funny to see what he does to keep people listening, because the guy he wanted won. I think he was banking just like most of the media was. Is he going to stop yelling?
Well, he shares something with the left in the fact that he always needs an enemy. What's he going to do?
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
You're right, Rich. He's in a conundrum.
Oh, no. Actually, I can see where he's still got a shtick going forward for hopefully only the next 4 years. Because Donald Trump said a lot of outrageous things. And even if he doesn't try and pursue them and fail, if he just doesn't bother, Alex Jones will have a conspiracy as to how the left stopped this from happening. Donald Trump wanted to build a wall, but the left intervened, will be his story. Donald Trump wanted to do whatever. He wanted to abolish Obamacare, or, any of the number of things that would either just be unconstitutional or would just ruin the country or bankrupt it, that he spouted during his campaign, that he's not actually going to be accomplished, is open game for conspiracy theory as to why it didn't happen. It wasn't Donald Trump's fault. We elected the perfect candidate, and the left got us.
No, it's a vast left-wing conspiracy?
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. Well, yeah. I mean, Pizzagate proved that this was all the left. This was a Democratic hangout.
Hillary should have covered her tracks better than to lead that guy to that pizza shop with her child sex ring.
So fake news. So I wonder how many people are actually equating these things, though. When we talk about fake news on Facebook, and we talk about
not
Russian,
many. Look who won the election.
Well, hey, you didn't let me finish yet. You can't answer the question. Pause for 1 second. We hear about fake news stories on our social media, and we hear about Russian intervention. Now, the CIA report this week about Russian intervention in the election. And they're really all just the same thing. It's all misinformation, regardless of where it's coming from. We shouldn't be necessarily surprised that some of that is coming from outside of our nation, because the internet doesn't really have borders.
No.
But a lot of this is coming from inside of our own country. Planet Money did a story recently where they tracked down a guy who, I think it was the guy who they traced as the source of the Pizzagate story. And at first dodged them. The guy dodged the reporters and then wanted to talk the next day. And talked about how he was like a writer who would, writing for magazines, doing reviews, whatever, freelance writer, and found this opportunity to write fake news stories that, take it as you will, his justification for these fake news stories that were similar to Pizzagate were that they were so ridiculous and completely unfounded that he thought that people on the right would post these and share them and then get debunked by everyone else, saying like this is just a made-up story with no relevance and truth or proof. And
what he forgot is the loudest point on the internet wins, not necessarily the right one. So if you and all your buddies...
Not the one you can back up.
Yeah, if you and all your buddies rally around the wrong point, doesn't matter that it's wrong factually, you got the loudest mob. Well, you win.
Here's the interesting thing. In the more recent part of his career doing this, where he made up to $30,000 a month doing this fucking shit. Yeah. He, more recently, his stories were all against the left. When he started this out a couple years ago, it was actually balanced. He would make stories for both the left and right, but he found that the bait that he made for the left was never took. So, and he was all getting paid on clicks, right? He'd post a story, he'd get advertising dollars based on how many, in some case, millions of people shared this story. And he would do these left baiting pieces that were damning the right. and getting no clicks on them.
Well, because the left has no interest in correcting facts. The left just wants to tell you about how wrong you are for thinking how you think. They have no interest in...
But here's a different... Oh, let me clarify then. The left didn't share the stories.
The right...
that were intended to bait the left. The right were sharing the stories.
And for the wrong reasons.
So either the liberals chose not to believe it, thought it was too outrageous, or what was the third option? Or researched. That's right. That's still an option. You can research. You can actually look for another source on a story, and if you can't find it, forget about it.
Well, isn't it possible that maybe more right-leaning people are older, and older people tend to be a lot more gullible as far as fake news and getting sucked into bullshit? That's why a lot of telemarketers and people prey on elderly people, and younger people tend to be a little bit more liberal, and they're a little bit more plugged into reality because they're like, wait a minute, Snopes, okay, this is bullshit, and that's just the end of it. I mean, I can't count how many people have shared articles in my family, in my friends list who are, family of friends that are older or whatever, and they just believe what they see the first time they see an article, and I'm like, did you not do anything? Did you not look up anything at all on that? This is all bullshit. I mean, going back to your point, these are the same people that 10, 15 years ago was, don't trust anyone on the internet because it's all a bunch of guys who are trying to rape you. Right. And now all of a sudden, if it's on the internet, it's the word of God himself.
Well, we did shift on a lot of things on the internet, like don't use your credit card on the internet. Actually, with the current encryption that we have, it's very safe.
My credit card's all over the internet now.
Right. You can't. You'd have to be some sort of weirdo loser recluse to hook up with somebody that you met through the internet or through social media or an app or anything like that. Totally not the case.
Now there's websites that actually trot out their stats of how many people have gotten married.
Right.
But see, once again, that kind of backs up my point, because the older people I know still look at it as, oh, you met someone on the internet? Right. You fucking loser. You can't meet anyone in real life?
Yeah. Well, what did you do? You met somebody either that you grew up with or that you met in a bar while you were drunk. So that's better.
Well, I think it's an age group thing because, Aaron, like we've talked about it on other podcasts, how you still think that meeting someone using it, you still think that meeting someone using the internet for you, it's still, like you said, there's something for you. You can't.
I haven't done it. I haven't made that leap.
Yeah, because you said there's still something with it you mentally.
I'm not
where you're like,
it.
Well, you're just not sure about it.
Well, the thing is, because we've gotten to the point where you can legitimately meet people that you click with and have long-term relationships with, I know that I'm not interested in a long-term relationship, right? Mm-hmm. I'm also not necessarily...
Hey, there's a website for that?
Right. I'm not necessarily interested in hitting up a lot of chicks either, so I'm kind of like in a limbo. I'm not wanting to be slutty, but I'm not looking to settle down.
There is a website for that. Whatever you want.
There probably is.
Aziz Ansari,
is there a don'texpectanythingfromme.com out there that I can join up on?
Yes. He did I think it was his Madison Square Garden. He did a bit about how there is a website for whatever you're looking for right now.
You're keepingitcasual.com.
Yeah.
Keeping my options open.
Well, I don't know. I'm making excuses. I expect within the next year, actually, I will pursue somebody in that manner, but I have yet to make that leap. And it's not... I'm not saying that Google, I'm necessarily skeeved out by it.
You can vet people a lot easier now, too, with Google.
Yeah. Which also used to be called stalking.
Yeah. Mandy told me she Googled me after the night we met.
But it's kind of stupid if you don't do that, right? Like, stalking is actually, creeping over and trying to peek through somebody's window. This is more like, I put some, this is stuff like I put pictures on the internet, right? You didn't creep into their house and dig them out of their drawer. They posted them on the internet. Why wouldn't you look at them? Why wouldn't you look at the stuff that they posted about themselves?
It's stalking the same way it's always been stalking, or it's been just showing interest in somebody. It depends on how good looking you are to the person that you're doing it to.
Right.
And then two,
either he's coming on really hard and I'm digging it, or the guy's a fucking creep and he's stalking me.
And how much?
And they're doing the exact same thing, by the way. One just looks like a movie star, and then one looks like your everyday person. So, but then the other one is,
come on,
are you
Rich,
doing
saying women are shallow?
Yeah.
Moving on.
I mean, come on now. Yeah. I mean, is this shocking? Come on now.
And how much of a cry of joy went up from the stalking
Personally,
community
I think they're way more interested in money than looks.
the day Facebook showed up?
Actually, it goes
Facebook has to be
money,
a stalker's dream.
height, looks.
I could see where you are, where you been, who you been with, where you're at right now.
It's funny. It's funny you bring
if you
this
read my
it's-
message.
We're getting
It's
off
funny-
track. Wait a minute.
No, because it's funny you bring this up because it's something that I meant to bring up a couple weeks ago. It's just something real quick that I read. We all know who Dan Savage is, right? Right,
Yeah.
Savage Love.
Oh, yeah, I've read his column many times, listened to his podcast.
Okay,
I'm a fan of Dan Savage. Even when I don't agree with him, he's always very smart and level-headed.
Okay, you might remember this article then.
Yeah.
He went to a plus-size convention,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
What I used to call Friday night.
Are we talking just overweight people in general, or is it more? Are we narrowing that group down further?
he went to it was called a plus-size convention. And when he got there, the first thing he noticed was that it was mostly
bears.
larger women,
Black dudes.
and skinny, tall men. And he said, "Well, where are all the heavy guys?" And he would ask all these robust, Rubenesque, whatever word you want to use to describe them, females.
Yeah.
Well, where are all the big guys? And she said, well, he said almost to a person, they would answer almost the same exact thing. The dirty little secret in the plus size community is no one likes fat guys. Fat women can go out right now and get laid. A fat guy, he better have money, he better have personality, he better have something more than just his size. It's
the difference.
It's not there.
A woman would.
It's not.
A woman would have to have something wrong with her not to get laid, whatever she wanted to.
Yeah.
Generally speaking,
You just have to show interest.
And a man has to have something going for him.
But I just found this.
One of the
funny.
three. He's either tall, he's either really good looking, or he's well off.
If you are a woman, you could walk into any bar at 1:30.
I just thought it was really funny because Dan Savage is as gay as Dad's old hat band, has no interest in trying
He's
to.
gay as the dick is long.
He has no interest in trying to make any women look bad because he's bitter because they don't want nothing to do with him. Mm-hmm. Okay, because he wants nothing to do with them in that way. And he was like, oh, because even us gay guys, we have the bear and cub community, and straight women are here are these.
Whoa,
these
people
these,
have preferences.
I
Yeah,
also
that's right.
refuse to believe there weren't a bunch of black dudes at this convention.
Am I a
either.
racist because I've
All
never
right.
fucked a
I've
black
seen
chick?
the bus stops around here. All right, I know what goes on.
Of course, according to some of my friends, yes, you are. According to some people I know, there's no such thing as preferences. There's only such thing as prejudice.
So I'm racist because I turned down a
What
black
about
chick.
Yeah.
What about what did the white skinny?
She's a stripper.
What did the
wanna
tall
go to the
skin? I didn't
doctor.
say. We didn't say their race or anything. We did say they were tall and skinny dudes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That were at the convention. What was their response about?
Where's
why-
About fat guys?
Like, why were they? Well, clearly there's something going. Well, okay, it's about dick size, right? The tall, skinny dudes got long dicks, and the little girls can't hang. The big girls can. That's what I would imagine they would say if they were asked.
I guess I don't know.
I
I
can
be honest
agree with
with
you
you,
on that one.
it's. I mean,
Just go
I don't
along
know.
with it.
I would guess, yeah. I mean, because even if they're not fucking better hung, they have no meat around it. It's it's like if you're
Right.
fat, you have a
try
lot
harder.
of hills and you have a lot of hills and valleys around your tree.
That's the thing. When you think of two heavy people, you're like, how does your puzzle fit?
Yeah, it's like it's like trying to get two beach balls fucking, and they just keep rolling off of each other, And this is what I've said, People are like, oh hey, Rich, there's a chick for you, and I'm like,
Right.
what the fuck are me and this chick gonna do? Wrestle? I mean, what?
My first time out was on a big chick, and let me tell you, sometimes the big chick, you don't even have to have penetration. You can still have fun.
They like oral, too.
Oral.
They like it and they're good at it.
Or you can just hump away at whatever's accessible.
Jesus.
But yes, I did. Like I said, I found it funny that here was someone that basically said something that a lot of guys have been saying for years, but since it was coming from Dan Savage, who is he's very out. I mean, he's skipping around with a rainbow flag on fire out, and no one jumped down his shit. No one called him like a woman hater or nothing like that. They were just like, oh, well, I guess that's the way it is. If you're a fat guy, you better have money. You better be Kevin Smith.
Well, he was also smart enough to not post it as opinion and actually do an interview and just report on the results.
How many times have we had this?
Rich, the pendulum swings the other way. There's a bunch of chicks out there that are into fat dudes.
He had facts.
How many times have we talked on this podcast though how facts are trumped by feelings these days?
Oh yeah,
I have to believe if it was coming from a different source that there would have been a lot more blowback on that article. But since it was coming from Dan Savage and they said, okay, he has no agenda here to be putting down women. He's just stating a fact. And, of course, the thing that got ignored in this entire article that I thought of was it just proves that guys are you get enough guys in a room, they're attracted to anything. Yeah. You could anything, gay, straight, doesn't matter. Eventually, there's going to be a guy who wants to fuck you.
Yeah,
right.
If anything has taught women, if the internet has taught women anything in the last 25 years, is there someone out there that will fuck you? Well, Don't worry.
Even pre-internet. When in the days of porno mags, there was whatever you were into: grannies, big women, skinny women, girls that didn't look like they were 18, but they quote unquote were 18.
It's like the scene in The Golden Child when he walks up on the newsstand. The guy puts the magazine down, and Eddie Murphy picks it up. Chunky asses.
Right. Now, granted, on the women's side, like women aren't visual in that respect anyway, but there was Playgirl magazine out there, and there was like pretty much one type of dude, right? Like not
Playgirl, so gay and hung.
Not okay, not super cut, not overly muscled, but definitely defined, has a six pack, has a modest amount of chest hair, and well-groomed, chiseled looks. There's not a lot of variety. There was no overweight dudes. There was no geeky like Jason Schwartzman in there. Not that women aren't attracted to these guys, but if you don't want to talk about when it comes to women's porn options, they're much more narrow, I think, than what they choose to.
I do think it's funny that in probably because we remember this because we were old enough. We remember the days of VHS porn, and pretty much the rule to be a guy and be in porn was you had to keep your dick hard in the pre-Viagra days. Hence, you had some guys who were not good looking by women's standards at all in porn.
Yeah, absolutely. Performance was key. You had to bust on cue and stay hard for hours.
I think Ron Jeremy is pretty much
there you go.
The golden boy of your point right here.
Big dick. He could count down backwards from 10 and blow a nut on 1. I mean, every time. And he literally looked like something that you'd scoop out of your drain after you fucking took a shower. So, but then you look at porno now.
Look at his dick!
And I'm like, I see chicks talking about porn and stuff online, and they're like, "Oh, well, this guy, there's James Dean, original porn name there." They're like, "Oh, he's so good looking and blah blah blah," and I'm like,
"Man, you're
really?
spoiled."
Like, really? Okay, this is the internet and Viagra have basically let women have
ruined everybody.
Let women have. And what they consider good-looking guys in porn, because Viagra, anybody can get it up. I mean, Bob Dole did a Viagra commercial.
It's chemical warfare now.
I don't want to think about Bob Dole with a rock-hard dick.
I know. Elizabeth Dole doesn't want to think about Bob Dole with a rock hard dick.
I know. Talk about pasting a Playboy fucking centerfold over his face while he's puffing and puffing on top of her.
Did you ever see that? It was around the 2000 era Saturday Night Lives. They did a Viagra commercial. It was a bunch of chicks pretty much going, "Hey, thanks Viagra," but very sarcastically.
Yeah.
It was like Maya Rudolph and like Amy Poehler. Like, "Hey, yeah, thanks Viagra." But we're talking about the internet and us getting trolled.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there's a CIA report on Russia. Although, again, they talk about election manipulation. It's kind of the key word here. And they talk about fake news
not
stories.
Not our fault we're fucking stupid. That was what I took away from that.
I'm not saying that there's not any correlation between fake news stories and election manipulation. And clearly, Russia sees that as something that's effective policy, or else they wouldn't keep pursuing it because they've been doing it for a while now.
I just look at it as if we fell for it, our bad. Like, we need to look in the mirror again as a country.
But there's not a direct correlation. These kind of ghosty claims about, manipulating actual election results have been unfounded.
I do.
So what's the real story here? That Russia is trying to gain power in the world and wants to leverage something over the U.S.? That's old news.
The real story is we're stupid. Like, that's really what I'm taking away from this.
Okay, hold up. Okay, this is going to end badly, but fuck it. I don't care. Bullshit on both of you guys. The U.S. has been fucking sticking their fingers in elections all over the world for as long as we've been sucking wind on this fucking planet.
No.
So to act like Russia is somehow how stupid if you think that they would do that just because we can't prove it at the moment. Get the fuck out of here. Come on, man. Seriously?
You misunderstand me.
No, yeah. No, I'm saying we are stupid for... No. If Russia manipulated it, and I agree, which it more than likely probably did, I'm saying it's our bad for being stupid enough for falling for it.
Okay, my bad then. I misunderstood what you were saying.
It's old news unless you actually have evidence of Russians hacking election results. That's the only way that you have something that, this is like something that we would definitely have to put a stop to.
How many decades did we have no quote-unquote proof, no smoking gun that we did it ourselves until the Freedom of Information Act came around and enough time had passed, the people who were actually involved in it had died, and so all the paperwork came out. I mean, the Gulf of Tonkin shit, that just came out, in the last 10 years? And that's what basically kicked off the Vietnam War. I mean, that's what just because we don't have it at the moment doesn't mean that shit isn't true, and it doesn't mean that Russia wouldn't try their damnedest to fucking sway an election.
I've never said that it was completely illogical that it could happen. It's definitely in the realm of possibility. I'm just saying we haven't seen any evidence of that as of yet.
Well, no, I don't think they're talking about Russia hacked our voting system. No, they hacked. Sorry, I just watched 2 seasons of Mr. Robot. They hacked us. All right, that's the problem. They hacked. Right. They found our bug as a society and fucking just that's what they did. Is that they were just
right? But the CIA came out with this claim
at us,
and Democrats used this to push a case for investigation that Republicans said this is nonsense. And I can't really agree with the Democrats on this issue because this is not new news.
Well, yeah, I hate to inform Democrats. The results of this investigation we're dumbasses.
They're the ones that are trying to make the connection between fake news and election manipulation. People manipulation, definitely. And the only way you stop that is with an educated populace.
Yeah, we're back to everybody, you can hear my voice. Let's go into our bathrooms. Let's look in the mirror. Let's do a little bit of reflecting.
Even if there was actual manipulation of the outcome and the results, or an attempt to, nobody in this country who's in power wants to admit that happened.
Because then it shows our ass.
Exactly.
It shows we're vulnerable.
Okay, so no one is motivated to come out and be like, oh, by the way, I mean,
that's a fair point too.
We'll find out for years.
If there was actual tampering, the CIA would want to act on that intelligence before they announced anything about what happened.
And I mean, part of intelligence, anybody who knows anyone who's worked in the intelligence community in the military, a large part of intelligence is not just fucking with other countries. It's putting out misinformation to your own country about what other countries are doing to you.
Right. So it's frustrating because we'll never really know, right? Unless we live long enough to...
Exactly, yeah. Like at the end of JFK, where he's like, right now, I'm telling my son to live long enough to one day he can walk in and read the, files.
And it's hard to argue with even Trump when he says, these are the same people who said Saddam Hussein had WMDs. Like, good point.
Guys all over the map.
It was also the Republicans that you're trying to align with that were saying that as well. But, there are Republicans who are saying Russian hacking has been going on for decades. This is not new news. And I don't know. Maybe we will see evidence of a direct correlation between something the Russians are doing in the way of tampering with our election results, not our election outcome. Because
I say don't blame Russia because we're stupid, everybody.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, that we need to not lose sight of that. Like, the main defect here is we're dumb. We believe anything.
I was dumb. I remember
someone puts quotes next to a picture on the internet, and we fucking believe it. All right, I think the problem starts here with us.
When I first read a story about cannabis on the Weedsman podcast, I think in our first year, and it was from RT.com, and I was like, I don't even know what does fucking RT mean? It's Russia Today. That's what it fucking stands for. It's Russian news. Like, I'm not saying don't ever read Russian news, but know that.
But don't ever read Russian news.
But know what your source is.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's like anything. If I'm ever during the election, if I was seeing any kind of meme, if it was some kind of crazy, if it came from a far left site or a far right site, I kind of just put that in the category of this is what it is. Right. This is propaganda from that side wanting to win.
Right. But then we have the other side of this Russia issue when it comes to Trump. Like, yes, you're right. The CIA can't necessarily be trusted in the same way that we may be used to in this country. And to Rich's point, it's going to be decades before anyone knows the full truth on any of this shit. But then he starts talking about, for Secretary of State, Trump that was talking, I should say, about nominating the Exxon CEO.
Well, he is just his cabinet appointments. I mean, talk about just living up to the hype.
Rex Tillerson. Like, you just have to say your name like you're announcing him. Wasn't he a Speed Racer character?
Yeah, I know, right?
Is that all he has is Speed Racer characters?
Maybe we're back to male porn stars. Sounds like a porn star from the 80s, Rex Tillerson.
Trump says he's a world-class player.
He's a player hater.
So Exxon has, I mean, they're worldwide. Just the deal that they have with Russia alone that was signed a couple years ago is worth $500 billion to Russia. This is a guy who does a lot of business with Russia. Granted, a lot of other places in the country as well. So we run into the same thing that we have with Trump, right? How does he fully divest himself of this? Even if he steps down from his position or something, or even retires in order to take on Secretary of State, he would still have some interest and probably a lot of cash coming back his way by making sure that certain deals happen.
And conflict of interest on paper.
Much wiser since my
He's doing it, man. His cabinet appointments. There are a couple people from Goldman Sachs involved in his cabinet.
Yeah, you really do. Like when you said you were going to drain the swamp, like of what?
Yeah, I'm just putting in new swamp water. I'm just getting rid of the old swamp water.
What are you actually removing from the swamp?
Replace it with new swamp water.
with love.
It's interesting. Like, You would hope that, like, Donald Trump knows enough, obviously, about business to appoint the right people, right? A lot of his businesses have been successful enough to make lots of people millionaires. And it's all about finding the right managers and the right people to promote.
I'd like to see his donor list versus his cabinet list and see how.
You would hope that he would
do the Venn diagram on that.
You would hope that he would bring that into his cabinet appointments too, right? Vet who would be the proper people. But it's actually, the truth seems more like he got elected because he knows business and he's going to apply his business smarts to politics. And so that's what he's going to do with his entire fucking cabinet outside of Mad Dog.
I'm sure it'll be wonderful. I can't wait.
How about this Sophia Vergara story?
Yeah.
Like, that one really makes my brain hurt.
Tonight we're going to make love. You know how I know?
Yeah, this... you want a classic case of keeping religion and politics separate? I think this is...
Right. There's so many things that anger me about this. The fact that we're allowed to try a case in a state because of its laws. Not because anything happened in that state or anyone lived in that state involved in the case.
You heard about this, Rich?
No,
This is insane. So, okay, her and her fiance, who she broke up with before they got married, had frozen some embryos, some actual, they were fertilized.
Okay, no, wait, we're talking about the actress from Modern Family, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay, it's the one I'm thinking. She's the one.
So,
okay,
I have no idea how old she is.
The chick
but
from Soul Plane, Rich.
it's not. It's not an outrageous thing to think of, especially in her situation where, let's say she's 30. I think she's older.
She's closer to 40.
Right.
She's mid-40s.
Okay. She is.
Yeah, she's like 44.
All right. So she wants to work for the next decade, but she still wants to have kids when she's 50 for some reason. Then she can do that. Or she could even get a surrogate and not have to worry about taking time off being pregnant.
Would she hire a white nanny? Is that just how it would go?
And so they break up before the wedding happens, and there's still these fertilized embryos, and there's a legal battle over them. And this happens in California, I believe, because that's where they both live. And I can't even remember his name, but it's not even worth looking up because he's
Nick Loeb. Don't ask me why I remember.
He's a nobody, right?
Oh, okay. Not the guy that she's. I'm like, didn't she just get married?
Or else why is he going down this road?
She's married to Alcine.
He's got this guy has
True Blood.
This guy has no money coming to him in the near future, and this is clearly a play for a very healthy child support check every month, because he's trying to say that these embryos, these two embryos, there's two of them, deserve to be taken to term, and Sophia is fighting that.
Well, because what he's doing is the embryos are suing Sophia Vergara in the state of Louisiana.
But yeah, because he lost that case, so then they bring it up in Louisiana because they have a law that says that a fertilized egg is a life. That's where life starts. And so then you can be represented in court by who? I don't know.
Hey, Rich, he named the fetuses, and they are suing Sophia Vergara.
Because
they're going
the man who donated the sperm piece.
Because they're suing Sophia for, what is it, claims to her inheritance? And that's how he's trying to get like some kind of support out of her or some shit?
Well, no, he is not in the actual suit anymore. He is the father, but the suit is done in the name of the two eggs that they have even named and given female names.
Emma and Isabella.
Oh, okay,
now,
okay.
If he wins and these things become human, because they're not yet. They're not people. They're not alive. They're just potential. And there's potential all over the place. You know, there's so many, the amount of sperm and eggs that goes unfertilized in this country.
As Bill Hicks said, I've wiped entire civilizations off my chest with a gray gym sock.
Thank you. How far do you want to take this? So
that's by the way, which is hilarious that the Church of Satan is sending sperm-covered gym socks to Mike Pence, saying, "Would you please bury this and give it a proper burial?" I think that's hilarious. Anyways, something that okay.
Oh man! So, but wait, Isabella and Emma, if they come out boys, do they have to keep the names?
How legally? He's such a shitlord for assuming their gender.
Oh,
this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Scumbag, white male shitlord.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Maybe those are both boys trapped in female fetuses.
Okay, you're telling me about it, and I got the gist of it, but the whole time something in my head's going, this guy's being awfully petty. What is really going on here?
Money.
Here's the deal.
He doesn't give a shit.
Hold on. They were together. And on May 23rd, 2014, she announced their engagement had been called off. On July 1st, 2014, she started dating the guy that she just married. This guy is salty is what it is. Because if you've seen a picture of him, this is a...
He's looking for some vengeance.
This is a goofy-looking motherfucker. And the dude she married is like... He was in like... What was that? He was in True Blood and...
Magic Mike.
Magic Mike, like this dude is he's going to be in he's the new Deadshot in the Batman movie or some shit like that or
that one that's the werewolf guy.
Yeah,
he's a hunk of man.
Alcine,
holy fuck.
Yeah, so this guy is pissed off about that and he wants a payday is what it is because this is like I said this guy the only thing he's got going for him is he's tall.
Did they hook up before she got famous?
No.
I'm just guessing.
No, they just hooked up a couple of years ago.
Okay. No. The guy that she broke up with that's all salty over the embryos.
Oh.
Did they hook up initially before she got famous?
I think
that's what this looks like to me.
I think
let me see a picture of this guy. He's tall. See?
Yeah, that's it. It's all he has.
He's tall. She found good-looking, tall, and rich. So, and when you're Sophia Vergara, how are you going to settle for less?
Yeah, sure. This dude.
I'm not trying to be like one of those guys that like, oh, she's just not my type, man. I wouldn't do her. Obviously, I would do her.
He's hung like a can of Krylon.
But she's definitely not my type either.
You are insane.
She doesn't drive me crazy, but if she was like...
Have you seen her tits?
If she came over and was like wanting to personally drive me crazy, I would give her the opportunity.
Dude.
I mean, here's the... Okay, she is right up my alley. It has been for... I remember her back in like...
Her teeth are a little too white. She needs to like, listen.
She looks like fucking Jessica Rabbit, man. Like, she's not...
Boom!
She was in like stuff for FHM or whatever the fuck in like 2001, and my ex-wife brought the magazine home and was like, "Would you look at her? She's fucking hot." And I was like, "No, that's hot, but yeah, fuck, holy shit." And she's probably had some work done because she did look a little bit more natural back then, but whatever.
But that accent is real, right? I've never seen her outside of the TV show.
No, she's that's
Oh, wait, no. I have seen the commercials, but I don't know if she's still doing the character on the commercials or if that's her actually coming on to her own son.
It's like, listen, I wonder if she's doing like her, like, are you Charo 2.0? Like, is that accent now part of your paycheck?
Right? You just never break character?
Yeah.
I think on Modern Family, it is.
This generation's Lenny Bruce.
She has it. It's just not that thick anymore. But it was that thick at one point. She was on the Man Show, I believe. And the gag was no one could understand what she was saying, but they didn't care.
Ha. Yeah. That sounds like Corolla.
So
very good point.
I think there's and this is just speculation on my part, but hey, look, man. First of all, no one likes to be fucking dumped basically right before you get to the altar. And he's probably had people, her ex, the Slope guys, probably got people in his ear going, dude, that's bullshit. She's going to dump you for fucking, like, the archetype of the perfect male.
Right.
And have no shame about it. And if you were a woman and she was a man and she'd have done this, you could have got paid. So you know what? It's the 21st century. Go get paid.
He was.
And he's like,
he was
yeah.
looking at not
There you
having.
go.
He was looking at not having to ever work a day in his life if he didn't want to, and had that pulled out from underneath him. I can definitely understand why he is upset over it. You're just not going down the right route.
I mean, here's the bottom line. We've decided, I guess, I don't know,
Probably
that
early 30s, Sophia Vergara right here, Aaron. Sorry, I'm showing him Soul
Oh,
Plane.
and Soul Plane?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she's sexy. She is sexy by definition, and nothing about her involves like my ideal woman, except for maybe the hair.
Not even the giant rack. Like she's got like that's a natural
First of
rack
all,
too.
I've never seen her nipples, and that can ruin any pair of tits, no matter
Really?
how big.
Come on.
It's all about proportion. It is all about proportion. And she's a little outside of good proportion in my mind, in the way that, again, Jessica Rabbit, like she's like she should be playing a superhero because she has the type of body that you usually only see drawn by Jim Lee.
I typed in Sophia Vergara nipples into Google.
All right. Well, let's see that.
Let's
I
see
mean,
what
if
we
I'm
come
going
up
to talk
with.
shit,
Yeah.
let's see.
Oh, there we go. Huh?
Hey. Oh, man. Uniform. Nice. Like a silver $1.
Yeah. There you go.
Hey, so she just bumped up a couple notches in my
Wait,
book.
are we sure this isn't photoshopped? Let's look at the neck.
It
Let's
looks
look at the
it looks
face.
shooped a little bit there.
Ah, damn it. All right. Let's see if we can find
It's like a see-through dress on a red carpet somewhere.
something.
But if that were true, it almost looks like she has her bra was cut out, you know? See, that one looks like it's going way off sideways. Though you can't judge what they do to put them into the dresses sometimes. The nipples end up in weird places, I hear.
well, also
In the interest of
when-
getting good
as-
cleavage or some
as
side
someone
boob,
who's-
or depending on what your desired result is, yeah, your nipple goes like over the shoulder, into the armpit, tuck it into your belly button. I don't know where they hide them.
As someone whose ex-wife was when we met, about 125 pounds, and she had like natural double Ds. Yeah. The way they end up laying once they're in the dress is anybody's guess.
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it at that because I don't want to put her on blast about.
No, I'll give you that. I currently have a double D myself. Well, not myself, but you know what I'm saying.
He's
Yeah.
currently leasing them. But
Sometimes, yeah, they're
Leasing with an option to buy.
technically true. I haven't signed up to buy I haven't signed up to buy yet.
Well, that's an old. I can't remember the comedian's name, but she said, just so you know. Oh, Eddie Murphy said it too. But you know, if you're not married, you're just leasing the pussy with an option to buy. You can put the ring on it until you say I do, and it's legal. It's still just you're still paying rent. But
you want to
okay,
talk about
getting back to what I was saying. It just,
What are we
it
getting
just
back
seems
to?
to me, it just seems like this is just one, sour grapes. Two, he's kind of.
Oh yeah, clearly.
Dude, he's probably. Oh, you look at the guy. Okay, unless the guy has money falling out of his asshole, that's the best he's probably ever going to do.
I'm guessing
And
if they hooked up before she got on Modern Family and her career took off, then he probably had something else going for him. To bag somebody like Sophia Vergara, he probably had some money or is decently well off. At least a veterinarian, I'm thinking.
A dentist, something, you know, yeah.
Some sort of
A
trade.
dentist in L.A. makes good money. I mean, you know, let's be honest here. But it's just, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, dude, I don't know. Some guys never get dumped. Some guys never get their heart broke until it's later in life.
But why
and it's really sad because then they go through what you usually go through in your 20s, in your late 30s and early 40s and older. You just look really pathetic.
But what if everything was reversed? Actually, not everything. Only the gender. What if we just took a really hot male superstar?
Oh, he'd be a
Studley
scumbag.
dude, and there was a woman who he dumped, you know, just who wasn't an actress or anything like that or anyone famous, and she was suing for some sort of alimony. We would think nothing of it.
Yeah, and every woman would be standing up and clapping, and you go, girl, and you take him for everything you can. How dare he dump you at the altar and all this good shit.
Right.
That's for whatever reason, we as a society have said that's okay.
Because we're sexist, because the man is the one expected to go out and earn, and it's okay for a woman. Women should not be judged for going out and wanting to make a career, and also should not be judged for wanting to stay home and take care of her family instead. Not saying that you only have the option of one or the other, or that they're mutually exclusive ideas.
Well, no, and that's something that to me is weird, because I have both of those types, plus, you know, in the middle, like my stepmother, who had a white collar, you know, fast tracked for the upper echelons of the company she worked at career. Then she had my little brother. She stayed at home, raised him for the first 5 years, went back into the job market, and the job market was like, yeah, you're pretty much obsolete, especially since a lot of what she was doing before she left the job market to raise my little brother for those 5 years was in the IT field. 5 years out of it, the world's passed you by. So to me, I've never seen, to me, it's like, yeah, of course a woman's got a right to do that. They do it all the time, don't they? And then I had to realize that, no, a lot of people don't look at it like that. A lot of people look at it as, you know, like you said, in a very sexist way. Like, well, you're a woman, you should stay home with the kid. Or if you want a career, you shouldn't have a kid, or whatever the fuck. It's never made sense.
It's definitely different. When there's actual kids involved, it's a very different story. If the kids live most of the time with mom, and then mom needs some money from dad to help out with the situation. That only makes sense. It's when you get into like alimony or some kind of prenup, or
I'll be honest with you. I'm not on that bandwagon. To me, if you can't afford to raise the kids without putting the other person in the poorhouse, but the other person can afford to raise the kids without putting you in the poorhouse, then that person should have custody. Sorry, that should be. Just because you're a mother does not mean automatically you should get custody.
Oh, I wasn't saying that at all. I was just illustrating the most common scenario.
No, but let's be honest. The
law is still heavily weighed that way.
A very liberal percentage, let's say 75% of the time, you know, the children are going with the mother, and we know it's higher than that. But if I say it's higher than that, I'm accused of being a woman hater. So,
no, it's definitely higher than that, and I would argue that it should. In most cases, that's a better scenario. It just is.
I don't see it that way. Because it just starts so much shit. Because you got such you're going to have. First of all, we have, whether or not you're a male or female, the minute you don't have custody and the minute you owe child support, those laws are draconian. Those laws are there, and they don't care. They'll put you in fucking jail. They'll take your license from you. They'll take your entire paycheck from you. They don't care.
Well,
and that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. If you can't afford what the custodial parent is asking, and let's be honest, most of the time, what the custodial parent's lawyer is asking, then you can't afford it. There's no. I don't understand how we just look at, as a society, we look at family court and go, it's okay. He or she can go to jail because they can't afford child support.
I'm not saying that this doesn't happen, but this is a problem that we have with our legal system in general, is that it's so driven by money that it's all based on how good a defense that you have. I kind of got lucky in my case. I have negative and positive experiences, I guess, with friend of the court, the organization that oversees the child payment and custody issues and whatnot. And in my case, I believe it was just finding the right judge by chance, not by knowing anybody or anything, not even by going to court willingly, being taken to court and stumbling upon the right judge. But in most cases, the people are getting in this kind of situation not only because they can't afford what the state has deemed they should be responsible for in child support payments, they certainly can't afford a lawyer to go and fight for them and to figure out all the loopholes and how to work out a reasonable agreement. And so the situation that we have is that the default is usually more than what somebody who is what's considered poor, like making under $30,000 or $20,000.
think it's 27,000.
Right.
Ooh, it's gone up. Used to be 20.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, when they look at that and say, okay, boom, we're whacking half off of your paycheck and giving that to your ex-wife, what do you do with that?
And that's how. And
how do you afford rent or anywhere,
now my
or
question
car
in this
payment,
situation,
or insurance, or
if
anything?
They willingly.
You're talking about like $700 to live on a month, $800 if you're lucky. Like,
question I have for you, gentlemen, because I think you guys have been through it.
I'm talking about real life experience here.
If they put you under the poverty line, do you God damn it, brain's malfunctioning. Do you qualify for things like
I have
the bridge card?
I did have some support. Yeah.
When you're unemployed, I'm saying like right now you're
I
actively
took my
employed,
unemployment,
and they're probably taking a good portion of your
I
check.
wouldn't qualify for it now. No.
But if they put you under, I'm just saying, if they willingly put you under that $27,000 mark, do you qualify for assistance?
No. That's still based on your gross.
Okay,
They can take it into account, but you would be disqualified just
like
based
if you
on
make
what
28
you make gross.
and they take half, so you're only bringing home 14. Well, they take that into account. You're only bringing home 14. Let's kick you some money for some groceries.
Right. It'll only be taken into account if your gross before what they take out hits under their requirements.
Damn.
Then they can look at it and go, well, you might need some more support because you're losing half to child support. Not losing, but you're anyway.
Wow.
See, all my experience is not in the state of Michigan. It's in the state of New York because that's where.
Yeah, every state's different too.
My daughter was born. Now, one of the things I ran into in the state of New York was everything was paid up. Everything was, there was no child support. My daughter was over the age of 18, and I got a letter from the state of New York saying you owe us a couple $1,000s. And I said, for what? Well, it seems that at some point before her 18th birthday, her mother had went on some sort of state aid, using my daughter as the reason for getting the state aid. And they split what she got in half, forgave her half, and made me pay my half, quote unquote, my half back to the state. And they actually went and took money out of an account without any legal notification from me. That's how I found out. And that's when I got the letter. And I had to jump through a bunch of hoops to get that back. And I never really got it back. I just got it as a credit towards what I owed. And then I just paid off the rest. And I'm like, how can you do that? She never came to me and said, I need help. I need more money. The courts never came and sent me anything saying she's filing for this. You just gave her the aid. And it was around $5,000, give or take. Forgave her, split it in half, forgave her half, but made me pay it, or else you were going to put a warrant out for my arrest in the state of New York. Now, I want you to tell me where, in any planet, or not planet, excuse me, in any place in this country, that would fly, with everybody just going, well, that's what you get for having kids, if the genders were reversed. It wouldn't. It wouldn't. There would be outrage. The National Organization of Women would come out of the fucking closet, come out of the woodwork. There would be some sort of single mothers. We do a lot of judging
of dads who aren't with the mothers of those that they sired children with. But a woman's never judged for having a kid, regardless of the situation.
And I mean, the sad part is that, even when the situation was, I did everything I possibly could to try to make the relationship work. And the last year, her mother and I were together, it was obvious that she didn't give one shit whatsoever, to the point where infidelity was being flaunted in my face. And I sat there and took it, because isn't that what you're supposed to do? That way you can be there for your daughter, and et cetera, and try to do the right thing. And I never was once given from anybody from her family any kind of, at least you tried, and we respect you for that. And none of my friends ever said, hey man, you tried, dude. You tried. They were all just like, you're stupid. That's what you get for staying with that dumb bitch. And I'm like, really, dude? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to just blow up my family because she has a problem with infidelity? Because if the situation was reversed, it would be, how could you do that to her? She's the mother of your child. And that's when I found out that despite being raised by legit feminists in my family that said, hey, look, everything should be equal. The same criticism we give a man, we should give a woman. That's not the way the world works. And that's when I found out the hard way, that when 90% of the time when a woman does something like that, there's an excuse for it. When a man does something like cheat on his baby's mother and it breaks up the family unit, he's a scumbag, he's a dog, he's a piece of shit. And that's just the way it is. And here's the thing. Oh. Guys are pussies because guys won't argue against it. Because why? Because they don't want to piss women off.
No, Rich, from my own mother, like, for whatever reasons, in a couple different, I've had every woman that I've ever been with for some reason has cheated on me at one time or another, for various reasons. And for various reasons, my mother would find out. And it was always assumed, she would find out that there was infidelity in general going on in the relationship. And it was always assumed that it was on my part, that I was the one straying from these relationships. And did I want to sit down and have a full conversation about, no, in fact, that these women, these infidelities that you found out about were on the side of the women that I was dating? I don't even want to get into it. It's not even worth the conversation. I'd rather just not have a talk with my mother about my relationships. I'm just not that type.
No, I understand.
We're in the United States of double standards, gentlemen.
At the same time, when you treat someone as if they're your equal, and it's just ingrained in me to go, okay, well, if I'm going to hold myself to this standard, then you should hold yourself to that standard. And if and vice versa, you give you give the respect back that you're shown. That's how I was raised to be. And then to get in a relationship, and it's the exact opposite of that. And no matter what I did, I was the bad guy, quote unquote. I just couldn't handle it, and I was like, "This is bullshit." And that's when I was like, "Okay, now I'm starting to understand why some guys are as bitter and as angry and just full of fucking hate as they are." And because it's not just the relationship that you got fucked over in; it's people around you, it's your friends, your own family going, well, you need to choose better women. Nobody would say that. Nobody would say that. I was in a physically abusive relationship with a woman that I literally took me, the minute she started putting her hands on me, 6 weeks later I left. It took me 6 weeks to get the money up to leave. And you know what I got told by people? You need to choose better women. Tell me what man would in his right mind say that to a female who's getting her ass beat. That's the nature of the world we live in now. I mean, and people
I think a good therapist might say that to her, but it's not generally advice that you would give and not be criticized as a woman hater for.
And just to point out,
they see it as
the only relationship I was in that was physically abusive.
Right.
Because once this shit happened one time, I've learned the red flags. And once I see those flags start going up, I'm like, I'm out later.
It comes off, I think, though, as, well, chastising a rape victim for what she wears. You know what I mean? Like she wore that tight dress. Well, no wonder she got raped.
And see, that's bullshit also.
No, I'd say that it is bullshit. But I'm saying that's what they hear, I think, when people get outraged by, you need to pick better men. Yeah, you clearly need to pick better men. The last one beat your ass.
But see, and that's where we have to go into the common sense and be honest with each other.
What about just make better choices in general?
We're not too fond of in society at this moment, at this point in time at least. Okay, it's if you try to raise a woman like if you try to raise your daughter and tell her, look, when you go out to a bar, never leave your drink sitting where it's out of your sight. Don't set it down. Someone could slip something in there.
Well, that's reasonable advice.
This is the type of advice you would say to anybody that they could be putting, like, okay, don't go looking for drugs in a bad neighborhood at 3 a.m. with you and your 3 other lily white friends.
What?
Probably going to get your ass fucking, you're not probably, but you're putting yourself in a very bad situation.
No way.
No way what?
I'm being a smart ass.
Oh, no, I know. I thought you'd said something before and you'd cut out because I just heard, no way. Like,
yeah.
But, okay, but then if you say that, which I've had my friends who have daughters who are getting to the age where they're getting out of high school and going to college, and they start telling their daughters this, their daughters go, why do I have to? Don't teach me how not to be raped. And I'm like, whoa. It's called common sense, okay? I don't dress up I don't flash money in a fucking environment where the police aren't going to show up. There's no policing. There's, you know what I'm saying? I could get robbed. That's duh. You don't do that. And instead of saying, well, thanks for that, and now I know what to look for. I mean, we've totally taken responsibility away from the person to look out for their own selves. And that's kind of what I learned in a physically abusive relationship. Look for the red signs. Look for the red flags, and once I see them, I'm gone. That now, because I'm maintaining this. Anything that happens to you more than once in the same relationship, you want to happen on some level, because or else you'd leave.
It's the old
That's how I realized I was a cuck.
The fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It's as simple as that. You let it happen more than once, you're now allowing it to happen.
I mean, now don't get me wrong. If you're in a situation where, like, you can't financially leave and your husband or boyfriend's beating your ass, and you have to do what I did, just literally scrape and save behind the person's back. And it took me, like I said, 6 weeks. It was literally 6 weeks to the day. And then when she went to work, I didn't even leave a note. I packed up my shit and I left. She come home and I was gone. Right, that was the last I've ever heard of her.
It's kind of, in one way, it's an ignorant criticism, much like when people criticize, locations where people live, like, they live on a fault line and there's an earthquake and their house is destroyed. They live on the coast and there's a flood and their house is wiped out. Well, why don't they fucking move? Or they live in Africa and there's no food. Why don't they fucking move? You don't understand that it's not that easy. But there is an aspect of it also that there is something that you can do, right? I mean,
if you lived on the east side of Detroit, in a neighborhood that had a lot of home invasions and break-ins, you'd be an idiot not to lock your door.
When I had to go to some of these...
No, but I'd like to take it a step further, though. I'm agreeing with you on that level, Rich. There's the basic level of what you can do in common sense. There is, much like the woman in an abusive relationship who is, let's say she's not working, so she's relying on her partner's income, so she has to find a way to save up money to get her own place. And so, that's called life, right? Everyone has to do that at some point. We don't always have somebody, unless you're super hot, that will always be willing to take care of you in your life.
Being aware of your situation is not anything ist.
In the same way that, you say, if you live in a, poverty-stricken place in Detroit, that it's not so easy just to pick up and move. But there are things that you can do as well in that situation. They're not easy, but educating yourself, getting a better job, and striving to move to a place where you don't have to worry about getting mugged is a step that many people have in this nation.
Because this is my reality, and I live with this every day. Here's the argument and the question you're always going to get from the extreme left. What about those who can't?
I don't
do that.
Okay. Like,
there are people who
like
can't
mentally
do that.
retarded.
There are people who
are crazy.
Who it isn't that easy for. You have these gifts and these wherewithals to be able to do this, but not everybody does.
I'm speaking from experience.
I'm playing devil's advocate here because this is what I get hit with all the time upstairs.
I'm not going to claim that I grew up in some kind of poverty and that I had to pull myself out of that, but I didn't pursue. I didn't follow through on any of my education past high school. Didn't get anything that I could show off as a degree or certification for anything. So I got low-wage jobs. And I lived in Detroit because it was cheap. And I got mugged enough that I was like, fuck this shit. And I looked for opportunities for better jobs. That's when I went to recording school. Decided that I would try and look for something that would pay me enough so that I didn't have to live in Detroit and get mugged anymore.
And
I'm
my own personal bottom too. When you're given bodily fluid to eat, it's time to make some new choices.
If there was white privilege involved in that happening, not saying that I'm there yet, but if there's white privilege involved, how would I even know? Maybe it was involved in some of the decisions of getting this job or that job. Somebody said, well, at least he's white, not like the other guy. But that doesn't mean that it's still impossible for anybody who grew up, regardless of color, regardless of what city they live in. And there are ways to get yourself out of poverty. And you have to admit that there's a spider on my Arizona iced tea. What the fuck?
Damn.
Why is there a spider on my iced tea? And has he been inside it? He's not by the lip.
I was in a relationship that
it's almost done anyway. Sorry.
I was in a relationship that at the time I didn't understand, and I didn't understand why she was the way she was when it came to having no situational awareness of her surroundings. And it used to piss me off because I am the complete opposite. I was raised when you go into a place, you never sit with your back to the door. You constantly keep an eye on everybody around you. It's just
family and waste disposal.
It's just the way I was. They're all in the military. I don't know. Maybe that's it.
If you're ever in a restaurant eating dinner with your family and hear Journey playing, watch out.
But I mean, it also extended to like when my dad taught me to drive. He said, always assume everyone around you is drunk, blind, and retarded all at the same time.
I got similar advice early on, and that is that is the best advice you can give a new driver is assume that everybody else is out to just fuck shit up with their cars.
That's why I won't learn to drive a motorcycle.
Be aware. Oh, fuck,
I would love to learn how to ride a motorcycle.
Yeah.
My fear is everybody else.
Okay, so you take that and you extend that into the rest of life, and now you understand what I was dealing with, because she was also a very bad driver to the point where it became a joke until a buddy of mine who was staying with us, he went through a breakup and he had no place to stay, so I said, okay, you can stay with us. Well, my ex was going, hey, I'm running down to the store, which was about 3 blocks down the road. Do you want to come? And he goes, yeah, I need to pick up some stuff. I'll go with you. They left. They came back. She walked in first, and then I saw him walk in behind her, and he was as white as a fucking piece of paper. And she went into another room, and I said, dude, are you all right? And he goes, she ass-ended 2 people on the way to the store and back.
What?
And I'm like, it's the middle of summer. What do you mean ass-ended? He goes, she doesn't pay attention. She's the worst driver I've ever drove with. I'm like,
bumped people?
Yeah. Yes, constantly. She was constantly in accidents. She's constantly put in positions where she had no idea about her surroundings because she was just oblivious to them. And it took me a long time of being with her to go, why, excuse me, why are you like that? And then because she was raised in a very country, sparsely, populated area, you go, oh, you just assume everybody is, you just grew up in the same type of situation where it's just wide open spaces and everybody knows your neighbors and all this. She wasn't used to. Yeah. Oh, exactly. The back roads where her family's at. First of all, they're not even paved, half of them. And if there is a speed limit sign you can find, it's a suggestion. That's it. There's not like there's cops around. There's literally one stoplight in the village that's nearest the town or the village that she grew up in. So I had to learn that, okay, not everybody's been taught like I was taught to be constantly aware of your surroundings, to constantly be sizing the situation up. But I mean, it blows my mind. I guess privilege, I guess that in that way, you could say that a person that was raised that way who didn't have to feel that they had to constantly be hyper aware of their surroundings were privileged enough to be like that. But I mean, it's just, to me, it's common sense. It's just,
Rich,
look, you walk into a bad neighborhood. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Obviously, at this point, she identifies as a bad driver. And
Yes.
and you're judging her is not helping anything.
She's gotten a little bit better because once she moved to the city, she was like, "Oh, car insurance goes up when people actually get in accidents."
You're sitting here being cisgendered while you make that whole statement as well.
Oh, look, it is what it is, though, man. And I totally get my little brother's a horrible driver. Why? Because he went to some bullshit driver's ed that taught him that basically is, as long as he drove defensively, he would be fine. And fast forwarded, the first 3 years of him driving, he totaled 3 vehicles. And I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? Our dad's rolling over in his grave.
Try driving defensive in New York City. See how far that gets you.
Well, yeah.
You have to drive offensively in New York City.
Only because he was driving the hearse that was involved in one of the accidents.
Oh,
that he was.
Come on, buddy.
Come on, buddy.
He said he was rolling over in his grave.
Damn.
Sorry.
It doesn't bother me. Dude, I'm a Doug Stanhope fan. I mean, I
think we're back to this again.
Dark sense of humor. So.
As long as this is the sexist talk episode, do you think a woman could have gotten away with punching that kangaroo? Because I think more people are outraged about the kangaroo than they are outraged about Russia.
Well, let's research the tertiary stories the whole week that Harambe went down. It's another test of how retarded we are.
Come again?
Remember Harambe, the gorilla, the Cincinnati Zoo?
Oh, yeah.
Dicks out.
Yeah. I'm sure if you research the tertiary stories that week, there are probably much bigger things going on than the fucking gorilla getting shot. But that's where we're at. Same thing with Cecil the lion. Let's research the tertiary headlines a week. Everyone was, quote, I'm using air quotes. It's good thing for audio medium here, but the outrage was Cecil. It's the same shit with the kangaroo. Michael
what
Vick
would they rather
went to
have
jail.
done?
Michael Vick went to jail for 2 years. Ray Lewis ended up retiring and winning a Super Bowl and playing a long, fruitful NFL career.
You would think it would take him like shooting or killing in some fashion that kangaroo, something that seemed over the line. Him choosing to sock in the jaw the animal that was attempting to strangle his pet.
Yeah, that's what everyone is lost in this story here. Is that kangaroo had his dog in a fucking headlock.
He was looking to choke his ass out.
Yeah.
That's how they win. Do you ever see kangaroos fight?
No.
Yes.
Only in Bugs Bunny cartoons. Or actually it was Sylvester.
That
right?
whole boxing thing, people think about them as boxers because of the way they shoot their forearms out, right? Well, it's the hind legs that are really dangerous because those are the ones that'll fucking rip your abdomen open.
Yeah, they'll jump up and kick you and split you wide open like
the punching is actually grappling. They want to get a hold of your head as another kangaroo and either choke you out. I've seen them put one kangaroo put another in a fucking chokehold, or they'll just rip you open. But usually the preferred method is to choke you out and win.
Aaron,
it's not necessarily a kill move.
Aaron, you've had cats almost all your life.
Yeah.
Haven't you ever seen cats fight, even if they're just play fighting?
They get around the neck,
and then they kick with their back legs.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly what the kangaroos are. That's what kangaroos do. And
they do their rabbit kick. I love it.
Yeah. And they got, but the difference is
my
they
cat
got
on the
some
belly and the
nice
right
claws
way
on their back legs to go ahead and rip you open while they're doing it.
Right.
I mean, first of all, that punch wasn't even all that much of a punch. I mean, dude, if you look at the way he delivered it, that was a rabbit punch.
He stepped up to that kangaroo, and the kangaroo was clearly sizing him up, and so he decided, hey, I'll throw a nice hook to him and let him know I'm willing to scrap. And he's probably going to back down. But either way, I'm not going to let him just choke out my fucking dog because he could really fuck him up.
Exactly. And that's the thing that to me is, I'm like, okay, so now we're going to have the animals rights people who are upset that oh my God, he hit a kangaroo. Okay, well, what would you have done if that kangaroo would have fucking eviscerated that dog with its hind legs?
He never should have been out there hunting. He shouldn't have been near that. He was on the kangaroo's territory. That's what he did wrong.
Oh, you're telling that dog you shouldn't have been wearing that dress?
Okay, so here we go. This is, you know what this is? This is getting back to like, okay, well, we stole our land from the Indian. from the American
episode name there.
from the Native Americans. Oh, well, the Native Americans used to slaughter each other. Well, and it's like, how far back can we go to keep pointing the finger? Because that's all that is. That's, you just turn it, you just go down a little fucking spiral of finger pointing. And I guess that's what they would do. But, I mean, first of all, a dog is like, to some people, a family member.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, Michael Vick, people lost their fucking minds. And I'm not judging whether they should or they shouldn't, but they did. That's the point. Okay? Why? Because they were enraged at the thought of someone doing that to their dog. I've been to people's houses where they treat their animals better than they treat their own children.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, and there was an animal rights story. PETA is going after shit. It was some, like, luxury car maker. I can't remember which one it was, like BMW or somebody like that, but it was
Jaguar?
Could have been Jaguar. And they wanted them to stop using leather in their cars.
Jesus
now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this leather usually that we use for clothing and stuff like that cowhide?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
isn't that because we slaughter so many of these animals for their meat already?
Generally.
All right. So isn't that really
We're
just
using all parts of the buffalo.
it's a tertiary industry based on something that if you don't like the fact that we're eating meat, then make that your cause, all right? Don't make your cause the fact that we're trying to do the most with the animal that we've already slaughtered.
Don't eat meat. Don't buy leather.
Right. Okay.
People are acting like they have to eat meat. You know, it's part of the citizenship in this country is you're handed a leather jacket.
Yeah. It's not like leather is the only option for cars.
Some guy from Mexico has been studying for 20 years. He gets his citizenship in the mail, comes with a leather jacket.
And
here you go. Welcome to America.
From my experience, it's really, people get that on cars where they're trying to make a statement with them anyway. Most people who have a car that they want to get back and forth to work on and be their everyday car are not going to get the leather interior. They don't want to deal with it. They want to wear shorts and when they drive in the summertime.
The people who are getting
they
the
want to
leather
spill
interior,
something every now and then and not worry with have to oil the shit down so it doesn't crack.
the people who are getting the leather interior ain't your audience. They're not the people that are going to be like, hey, you're right. Leather is wrong. No.
Right. Yeah. They're already driving the Volvo with the cloth interior.
They're already. Your audience is already driving a Prius. All right.
The
farting into their hands, sniffing it and loving it.
Yeah.
Just loving the smell of themselves.
Hey, how about them recounts? Everybody involved but Jill Stein pretty much declared it a waste of time.
What I thought was interesting is that Jill Stein, because the cost of the recount is somehow attached to how many votes you got.
Yeah.
So the less amount of votes you got, the less the cost of the recount, which doesn't make any sense because if they're recounting all the votes for everybody.
Well, it's not so much the less the cost of the recount, it's the less cost of the recount they are responsible for.
Right.
It's still going to cost $5 million in Michigan. She only just had to pay $900,000 of it.
It's not like there's a scenario where they could only count one person's votes. Like, what if they just counted Jill Stein's votes and said, oh, well, she got 5 extra votes this time. Okay. Well, now you have to find out where the 5 votes came from. Right?
Yeah.
They probably came from somewhere. You have to count all the votes no matter what.
Even Hillary's lawyers, like if you read anything, they were like, yeah, we'll go along with it, but like even Hillary's lawyers really weren't. They're like this. It just.
Well, Jill Stein was using a loophole to get at what she ultimately wanted, which was a recount, hopefully in a positive result for Hillary Clinton. Only that in using her own candidacy as a platform for that, she gave the Republicans the ammo to say, well, how could you possibly think that a recount would make any difference in your favor because you're the one making the recount? So the whole time, both sides understand that it's about Hillary, but neither one of them are talking about it.
Well, it wasn't even close enough to where it was automatically triggered. Like, I think that was a big thing with people, too. Like, 2000 weren't the automatic ones triggered in 2000? Because it has to be within a certain percent. Isn't it within half a percentage? We're counting again. and it wasn't even near it. It was
No, because originally in 2000, both sides were against the recount, if you remember, because even though it was close and there were a lot of people that wanted it to go Bush's way, Al Gore was like, I don't want to get involved in this stinky nonsense. This is not going to play out well for me as a candidate or a potential president.
and it didn't.
And it didn't. And he was, because he was for, I mean.
Well, he's just living off his residual checks from inventing the internet anyway.
Again,
what do you need to do? This internet thing caught on that he invented.
Yeah, but he spent most of it hunting down man-bear pigs, so nothing? Okay. Obviously don't watch South Park.
and using private jets.
So I watched 3 episodes of South Park this season, and I watched.
You can't do that anymore, dude.
I watched what I thought was a trilogy of episodes.
Trilogy?
A trilogy. Very good. Very good. Turns out it was a whole season of one continuous story.
Yeah, but they've been doing that for like the last 4 or 5 seasons now.
Oh, really? You would know more than I would if you've watched the more recent seasons, because I haven't, but the story that I read today said that this was something that they were trying for this season exclusively. Not that they haven't messed with continuity, and there was a whole like 4th grade season and all that shit, and they have dropped a lot of the running gags that they would do.
It started
killing Kenny and whatnot.
It started it's probably been about 3 or 4 seasons ago. It started with the whole Black Friday and consumerism season, I guess, which led up into the video game they released. When it ended is where the video game picked up, so that was a continuation. Yeah. And then it was 3 seasons ago. The season before this one that just finished up, that was the safe space season, and then this one with PC Bro and PC Principal and all this stuff, and then this one was the trolling season. That was the common thread throughout everything. I mean,
yeah, but didn't they pursue it to a higher degree this season? Where really, all your story, instead of just having like a B story that ran through a season, all your A stories and B stories were all running through the entire season, like an episodic television of anything.
Yeah, they've been doing that for more and more the last 3 seasons. This season was more so than the previous 2 seasons.
I'm talking about like the difference between, there's episodic TV like The Flash, okay? The Flash has stories that will run through multiple episodes, but each episode has its own, villain of the week and dynamic between 2 people that has to be resolved by the end of that hour of television. And then there's stories like Westworld, where look, you're just watching a fucking 10-hour-long story develop, you're getting beats, but you're not getting like, oh, this episode is, this person against that person, and we're really going to see we're really going to resolve the relationship. Nothing's getting resolved until the end of the season.
Okay, first season they tried this was like the season of American Horror Story.
South Park seems more like the latter, where you're seeing the long game of where like you're not seeing the results of any of this shit until the season finale.
When they first started this, when they stopped being self-contained episodes with maybe inside jokes that would run throughout the season.
Right, because they hit the wall The Simpsons did eventually, where it was like, it's been decades, like you can't get away with this anymore. Something has to move forward. Yeah.
It was very much like an American Horror Story season. It was a self-contained story within the season. Then, the last 2 seasons, it's been more of like The Wire, to where it's like a visual novel, to where they're setting up things.
Is it that good?
I'm not joking. They're setting up jokes.
Right.
At the beginning of 2 seasons ago, episode 1 of 2 seasons ago, they set up a joke that didn't pay off until halfway through this season.
Right.
Wow.
It's like when you watch The Wire, the first time you watch season 1 and it's all about the streets and the dealers, and then season 2, all of a sudden they're at the docks and they're dealing with the Greek, and you're like, what the fuck has this got to do with season 1? By the time you get to the later seasons, you realize it's all interconnected. That's what I'm talking about. That's what they're going for now, more so. I personally think that this is just me. This is a wild speculation on my part.
They got an end game in mind.
I kind of think that, and I kind of think they're getting tired of doing it because they've found a lot more success doing other things.
Oh, sure.
That are more challenging to them because they've been doing this for 20 years now.
Right.
That's crazy. When South Park came on, did you think that show would have been on for 20 years?
No. In fact, I remember a lot of people saying when they basically trolled their own audience on April Fool's Day with the whole Cartman's mom, not showing who Cartman's mom was, and then doing the Terrence and Phillip episode. That that's it. They pissed off their fan base. They're not gonna be able to do anything to get their fan base back. But if you notice, that happened in 1998. 1999 is when the movie come out. That movie, I think, really is what brought South Park back into the
legitimized
the forefront.
Because they won an Oscar for that, right? For Blame Canada, didn't it? Win best song from the film. That, like I said, that still blows my mind. That
wait, an Oscar or they win? They won an Oscar. The soundtrack.
That they won both.
Oh, okay.
That's if you'd have told me in 1997 when we met Trey and Matt that these guys were going to EGOT. First, I go, what's an EGOT? But second, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. These guys are going to win an Emmy, an Oscar, a Grammy, and a Tony. No fucking way.
And I still think the best part of the story about them going to the Oscars is they were tripping balls, and they said, let's dress up as fucking J-Lo and whoever else showed up in some dress the Oscars before, and they just showed up in dress tripping balls on the red carpet. That's, to me, great.
Well, also, my experience with their work really is South Park and the few movies that I've enjoyed, like Basketball and Orgasmo. And
Stuntcock.
Right. And the thing is, like, you see this, like, kind of... There's a lot of potty humor on South Park, but there's a lot of political and social commentary that goes on in there, too, just varying degrees. And in the movies, it's just dumb, right? As funny as those movies are, they're just stupid, and then there's no message in there. So,
see, I think the South Park movie it was awful preachy.
But there's stuff like the what's it called? Musical.
Oh, the Book of Mormon.
The Book of Mormon is like immensely successful, and I've never seen it. The parts of it that I've heard, though, it's similar to what they do in South Park, but it's sharpened.
Well, have you ever seen Cannibal? Have you ever seen Cannibal the musical?
It's much more precise satire than what they do with the blunt instrument that is South Park.
Well, if you've ever seen Cannibal the musical, the Book of Mormon should be no surprise to you.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
It's in the same vein, really.
Right.
It's about a true story.
Yeah, I had
what
to
do we
look
got
up.
now?
Oh, I'm a man. Man.
What makes a man? Is it the power?
And this is He-Man.
No, this is someone making this on YouTube.
I know. Well, I can't just ignore it. Fucking He-Man
They have
singing.
He-Man is lip syncing this.
I still got that Yoda song stuck in my head. I was singing it with my kids today. the bad lip reading.
You do the backpack?
You are now a man, you're a man.
Very manly episode, wasn't it?
Now you're a man.
It's a man episode.
Gotta get the...
No, we already titled it. What was it again?
Oh, I forget. Something about something.
Dog in a
Dog.
dress?
If the dog didn't want to get raped by the
Oh.
shouldn't have been wearing that
Dog
dress.
shouldn't have been wearing the dress.
Oh, yeah. Dog shouldn't have been wearing that dress.
Oh boy.
Did anything fun happen this week? When's Rogue One come out? Friday? Next Friday? Either way, I'm going alone.
Yeah. Oh, and the conservatives are saying that, not the conservatives, the alt-right. The alt-right saying that the whole franchise of Star Wars should be boycotted because it's a Jewish conspiracy. So let's keep so now it's Kellogg cereal, BMW cars.
This is why the Russians trolled
Star
us, everybody.
Wars. Next, I think in line, they're going to call for a protest against puppies, orgasms, and chocolate. Chocolate.
This is why the Russians trolled us, everybody. Because we do stupid shit like this.
Why did they pick these impossible targets? Like, I don't care how politically minded you are.
Fucking stupid is the real answer.
Unless, like, I don't know. if you're a Star Wars fan, there's nothing that's going to trump that. That's going to make you not go see the movie. I mean, what could make you not go see Rogue One right now?
Is the word Trump going to be taken out of the dictionary?
The director comes out as a Nazi, as a I don't know. What
they're passing a city ordinance in Portland that you can't use the word Trump because it's now a trigger word.
Man, unless it comes out that like they were murdering people for real on the set of that movie, or fucking
right
molesting children a la, Penn State. Dude, everyone's going to that fucking movie. I mean, it's just all there is to it.
Yeah. Right.
In fact, to be honest with you, I've said this on the show a few times. I'm more looking forward to this one than I was episode 7. And when I've said that to friends of mine,
yeah,
this
is going to be the Empire Strikes Back vibe.
Yeah, they're like, same here.
I watched again today. It was on TV.
I heard some Star Wars kicking around up there.
But yeah, this is the movie where
collapsing?
They flat out said this is a one-off. There will be no sequel to this movie, which is telling me that a lot of this cast is going to end up dead.
No, the director was asked, "What about a sequel?" And he's like,
"Rogue 2."
I think it's called The New Hope.
Well, the point is, a lot of these characters aren't going to be around to be in a sequel. That's what I'm taking from this. This is like
This is the story about the people who gave their lives for the Death Star plans, right?
Yeah, this is.
We already know that they gave their lives.
Oh shit! What was that? God, this is like the Alamo of Star Wars.
What the fuck?
This is where like Davy Crockett goes to die.
Yeah, if you follow the storyline, not a lot of people coming out the other side of this one alive.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it way more than episode 7, and I've heard the alt-right people complain through various articles. Star Wars is being co-opted by SJWs and all this shit, and somehow it's anti-Trump. And then, speaking of fake news, that there's now this fake news article being passed around in alt-right circles that they went back and refilmed scenes to make him anti-Trump after he was elected. And I'm like,
oh yeah,
really? Because somehow Trump is involved in Star Wars? That would be amazing if he is, because I'm pretty much a Star Wars geek, Aaron. I'm pretty sure you're in the same fucking boat.
Is there like an orange alien named like Don L. Trink?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've never seen anything you could even, as in like an allusion to, or anything that you could connect to Trump. Period.
So all of a sudden, Darth Vader's orange.
But Star Wars
holds his hand like that.
Star Wars tried going political already, and the fans clearly renounced it. They don't want politics, even fake ones, in their movies.
Like the closest I think I can think of is Revenge of the Sith, when Obi-Wan was like, only a Sith deals in absolutes, because Anakin said, if you're not with me, you're against me.
I'm just talking about Senate hearings in general.
Oh, that's the only thing I can think of that's like, and I don't think that was a commentary on current politics from George Lucas. I just think George Lucas was like,
this is how liberty dies.
It's a line that works for the character in the movie.
There's applause.
I think all good sci-fi is political commentary and social commentary, but I guess that's why.
You really think Star Wars is good sci-fi?
Hold on. You didn't even let me finish.
Okay, I'm just shocked that
Star Wars is not sci-fi, really.
Exactly.
It's fantasy. It has none of the technology or possibilities that it uses is tied to any sort of science. It might as well be an alternate dimension. It is its own thing. It at least tends to adhere to its own rules, which is good. But it is fantasy. You have to accept this reality where spaceships go in space. Because if you watched Apollo 13 and the rocket was blasting through empty space going, you'd call bullshit on it.
Yeah, Stanley
Right?
Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke put that baby to bed in sci-fi.
Thankfully, they showed how to do it for every movie up until Gravity has been ripping it off.
Exactly. Yeah.
Being hailed as like.
Well, I mean, if you're talking good sci-fi, Dune, the rights for Dune, which was bought by Legendary Pictures, and they're talking about turning it into a Game of Thrones type. They want to do a movie to introduce the series, and then they're going to do like a Game of Thrones type series.
You want to talk about something that needs a
channel?
Does Sting know about this?
It needs to. That story needs to be rebooted in a major way, because we've had these weird ass versions of it that were more the visions of what individual directors or artists wanted to produce. There's a lot of things that were. David Lynch's version is far changed, and he tried to put what seemed like maybe his own politics into it, and sort of kind of morphed the story to what he thought it should be about.
It definitely. And the sci-fi miniseries.
Not to say there's a lot of politics in the story of Dune. A lot of it is revolved around
feudalism
and territory and.
Yeah, and I mean, excuse me. The 85. I really wish this. I wish the 84 movies budget would have been given to the Sci-Fi Channel, because the Sci-Fi Channel, when they did their Dune and Children of Dune miniseries, they stayed a lot closer to the source material, but they just didn't have the budget to do it justice.
Yeah,
at one point, I think they were doing when Duke Leto and Paul were rescuing the workers on the sandcrawler on the spice mine, and like literally you saw this the ship was made of cardboard and it was flapping in the wind. I mean, it was like,
but
oof, that's rough.
Sci-Fi Channel has come a long way, and personally, I think that a lot of their shows still have a ways to go when it comes to the quality of writing. The production aspect is pretty spectacular.
Well, didn't they just put out like Childhood's End?
I don't know. I think the last one I watched was I can't even remember. I watched a whole season of it, but didn't care enough to come back for season 2. And it was about there's like this mining colony where there was a murder, and Thomas Jane was on it playing this like detective. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. I remember. Well, the Childhood's, if it was Childhood's End, I think that's what it was. It was a mini series, and so it got a little bit more financing than like their regular series do.
Well, yeah, and I mean, again, going back to a lot of TV that I watched, even though there's aspects of it that really annoy me, like the superhero shows. So, especially this season of the CW DC shows, it's actually been pretty spectacular, and there's still a lot of faults in it, and a lot of things that would make me cringe, and where you see like, well, if they had a bigger budget, but it's really not about the budget. It's what they're expected to do with the budget that they have, and that's produce 20 plus episodes, and that's why you get these tighter stories in the Marvel Netflix series, because it doesn't have to be stretched out and told in a serialized aspect. You can tell the bigger story all at once. And that's what I wish they would be able to. Even if they have to produce 20 plus episodes, then at least know where your bigger stories are going, so that while, so the two of the main characters have a falling out over the death of another character. It should be a really emotional thing. But the fact that this all has to be wrapped up in this episode in order for them to move on really deadens the emotional blow of what's going on. Whereas other shows that would take multiple episodes, or maybe even not till the next season till those things are resolved, much like this happens in real life.
Well,
why can't those superhero shows be real enough, damn it?
It's still real, damn it.
Thank you.
Speaking of shows that, God, I wish that they would do something with. I don't know why or how this happened, but I caught on TV this week both of the Judge Dredd movies.
Oh man, two totally different movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Wildly different.
And Judge Dredd, the 95 one with I am the law, with Sylvester Stallone there.
Right.
That was the one that was on first that I saw. And rewatching it, I was like, wow, what a piece of fucking shit this fucking movie is.
I saw that before, pre-internet age. Now everybody sees previews for everything, right? And when Judge Dredd came out, I don't think it was expected to be like a huge blockbuster. And I probably also didn't go to a hell of a lot of movies. So I didn't see a preview about it. I just knew that there was going to be a Judge Dredd movie. And I had to see that shit. And it was like, it started off fine enough because, hey, I got to see Judge Dredd, this comic book that I had read a lot of, on the screen. And then he just fucking takes his helmet off.
Which, Judge Dredd, they never show his face.
Right.
In the comic books. Yes, he takes his helmet off, but they never show his face.
Right. They
bastardized
at
a
this
couple
point,
different
it's
characters.
like Cobra Commander, right? Like, I think that people have attempted reveals, but the cartoon did it best. He does take his mask off once, and you don't get to see it. And that's just how it is. It's like the fucking suitcase in Pulp Fiction. It doesn't fucking matter what's inside. It's just a MacGuffin. It's just,
It's just something to move the plot forward.
Right. Something to add some weight to what's going on here. There are stakes. You don't need to know what the stakes are in order to enjoy the story.
Well, so I watched that, and I was like, ugh, oh, God. And then a couple days later, the 2012 Dredd was on, and I watched that, and
that was just called Dredd.
That was just,
That was with the guy who played Bones.
Carl Urban, yeah.
Carl Urban. It's fantastic. And apparently there's no interest in making a sequel to that. Outside of, I think Carl Urban, somebody asked him at like a convention. He's like, sure, why not?
Was he the law?
He was the law.
Does he say it in the movie? Does he go, I am the law?
Oh, actually, I don't know that that's like a big... Judge Dredd talks a lot of shit. Not to say that he's like a Spider-Man type of character. He's definitely more the Batman type. But he's not I don't know that I am the law is like a catchphrase or anything that he said as a character in the comic book. But he might have said it. He doesn't say a lot. You know what my favorite part about that whole movie is actually the last line in it. So the Dredd movie is really one day in the life of Judge Dredd.
Yep.
And it involves taking down an entire complex of like the slum tower of just hundreds of people. And at the end of it, he walks out because he's a hero. You know he's going to do that. And he has a brief encounter with his superior who shows up to contain the situation. And she says, what the hell happened in there? The whole place is blowing up. He's fucked up. His helmet's still on though. And he goes, drug bust. And fucking goes home.
Wow.
It's like just...
And that's what makes fucking that movie Judge Dredd, a true Judge Dredd movie.
Also, something that I have heard rumors about, I don't know how reliable they are, is that there's interest to do a Netflix series with Carl Urban.
Oh, with Carl Urban? How badass would that be?
That's what I'm saying. Because
there's so many stories pre-built that, I mean, the way that Judge Dredd was serialized and still is serialized in a lot of comics, British comics they're used to getting their stuff weekly. And that's why they read a lot of, what do you call them?
Hey!
Where you'll get like one book, like 2000 AD will have Judge Dredd's story and then it'll have like 3 other stories.
Yeah.
There's a name for it that I'm completely forgetting for some reason. It's the same way the Heavy Metal magazine is set up, where you'll follow, one story over like 5 issues of it, and you'll get like 6 or 8 pages of it each time. It's not, you don't get one monthly 22-page comic. It's broken up basically. And so the beats are much different. And that would adapt to television so well, even in the way that like, they wouldn't have to do an hour show. Like even for some of the Marvel stuff, they don't have to do an hour. There's so much of it that's dragged out. And it's beautiful enough, and you get some nice city shots, and it's all noir and shit, but we don't need to see you park the car. We don't need to see your character constantly sneaking around. We know that's what he does. They take their time a little bit. Walking Dead's guilty of that, too. Granted, they have some beautiful cinematography that happens in that series as well, but there's a lot of padding where, like, hey, you could have told this story in a half hour and told it nicely.
No, it takes their fucking time. Mr. Robot Takes your fucking time.
Oh, very guilty.
I just watched 2 seasons of that in 2 days.
Also, being a little too up its own ass with like the shots that are framed with the person in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, and it's all this negative space.
That is my...
You're like, I get it. There's a gap between these two characters that you're trying to illustrate
But
here.
if I had one knock on Mr. Robot, man, you take a long time to say nothing sometimes.
Yes.
But
it's so engaging. I love that show. But that, I was making trying to come back to a point there that I forgot now. Oh, half-hour television. Yes. You could do Judge Dredd serialized in a half hour very easily. That type of character, it's like Ash versus The Walking Dead no.
Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Ash versus the
Walking Dead. Oh, you should
cross over like a motherfucker.
You should work at AMC. There you go, man. Make $1 million.
That show works really well on a half-hour format, where you would think if most cases they take that type of material and adapt it, they want an hour of television. If they're taking anything genre, there's not a whole lot of genre that translates to half-hour television. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
zombies, apparently we need an hour of them. Superheroes, we need an hour.
Well, with Judge Dredd, they could also...
Although Powerless is coming up. That's going to be a half hour, but that's about people who deal in the insurance industry or something, I think.
Not about losing...
Yeah, like when
it's
Superman...
about the Amish.
No, it's about what happens when Superman crashes into your building or throws Zod into your building. Like,
well, doesn't Ben Affleck get pissed and tell you that you must pay?
Well, if you're not lucky enough to have Ben Affleck fighting on your side, hopefully you have superhero insurance.
Batfleck, isn't it the term the internet has for him now?
See, I think the thing they could do with Judge...
But there's a lot of humor that exists in Judge Dredd as well, right? Even in the Carl Urban, where he's very serious. Like, the humor in the Sylvester Stallone version is very campy, and I think not intended. There is actual humor, but it's very black humor. I think in the funny way that he manages to blow a nice even hole through the center of somebody's head. That's like so ridiculously comic booky. You know, they have that shot where you see through their head. Or he shoots a grenade into somebody's mouth, like it's an incendiary grenade that shoots out of the bottom part of his gun.
And
it goes, yeah, that's right at the beginning of the movie.
Right,
yeah,
fired.
And you watch like his whole. I think it's a magnesium bomb. They say it, so it like burns super hot and just fucking. He looks like Ghost Rider for a second before he dies.
Well, the thing that I think they could do that they can't really do to an extent in the movies that they could in a TV show is get into the fact that Judge Dredd is...
I think he had a one-liner for that. I'm not sure.
He's not really a hero. He started out as a fascist. Right. I mean, he was a pawn of a fascist government and state. Right. That's like...
That's the consistent thing about his character, that the right writers know what to do with him, is that he will always do his job, and so he is therefore easily manipulated as well.
Exactly. And one of the trade paperbacks that I had read a while ago was the story America from the Judge Dredd universe. He's only, I think, on like 12 pages, and he's flat out the bad guy in that. I mean, there's no other way to paint it. And
yeah, it does. They do manage to get away with something that, like, Marvel only plays with Wolverine being the bad guy, but at the end of the day, he's always making the right decision. He's always out for, like, saving somebody or whatever. And Judge Dredd is just doing his job and going home and not giving a fuck.
At best, you could say he's morally ambiguous. At best,
it's like Judge Mills Lane.
Let's get it on,
Judge Judy.
Well, I don't know. You can't say that he's morally ambiguous, because
not morally, but
his morals align perfectly with whatever the law says his morals are. Right.
Well, also, the interesting thing about Judge Dredd
ambiguity.
Did we just bring it back around to our real government?
Also, one of the interesting things about Judge Dredd is that he, in the comic book world, he ages in real time. So he's been out for 40 years. So now he's in the comic book. He's like in his early 70s.
That is something that sets him apart from almost every other comic book character out there.
And it's also given them a lot of hope for the sequel. It's also given them a lot of wiggle room to play with his character as far as
Carl Urban.
To play with his character as far as the character evolving over the years, which he has done. I mean, he's got more nuance to him in his views on things in the comic book Now
He's 70, I'm 70.
I'm hoping that
We do a sequel.
I'm hoping that this current fad with these big budget comic book adaptation movies lasts enough, or at least stays active enough to diversify a lot more and not be so tied to the same way that as a comic book reader, I'm not there. While I certainly have like my favorites of, I love seeing Wolverine written by Chris Claremont and drawn by Arthur Adams. That's just fantastic, you know. But I'll read many different Wolverine stories written by different people, drawn by different artists, and even different versions of that character that aren't even the original ones. And in movies, we're so tied to like, oh, Hugh Jackman is Wolverine, and now what are we going to do? And while we've managed to, I guess we're accepting this with Spider-Man because the new one looks like they're finally getting it right. But I'd wish that we could see other movies, like just because you have to have an Avengers movie where this person is going to be playing Captain America in that. Does that mean that we maybe can't make a smaller budget Captain America movie and tell a really good story with another actor? You know, because it's not like as a reader, if there's a really good Avengers story that I want to read and it's got Captain America in it, it's written and drawn by a completely different team of people than is writing a solo Captain America story that I also might want to enjoy. Those are two different things.
This is America. You got to move units, buddy.
And I guess at some point,
films don't do that.
It comes to whenever this relationship with Marvel and what's his name? What's his three names? Robert Downey Jr. Whenever that comes to an end, and everybody realizes, wait a minute, it's not just Hugh Jackman. Like all these guys are going to get too old for the superhero shit, right? And what do we do then?
They got a minute with Chris Evans.
Well, that's what they're gonna. That's why they're just gonna do what they did in the comic book, and what is that 15-year-old girl take over the mantle of Iron Man?
Right. They're preparing us for that by presenting us with these these obviously alternate.
It's a black chick, right?
Not just because if you take like another guy. And
yes, it is.
And you put him in the suit, and this is some other white male that we're putting in his place. Nobody that's really not paying attention will differentiate between, that's not Steve Rogers in that Captain America. But they'll just see Captain America. You see a woman or a black man,
it's the costume,
or a Chinese
not the person.
Then you're obviously seeing like a different version of Captain America.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Try Black Superman. See how that goes in Trump's America. That might not work out so well.
Oh boy.
Okay. Well, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I thought that they were going to go the route of having Rhodey play Iron Man, like they did in the comic books. But they obviously decided not to do that, and they made a War Machine instead, which they also did in the comic books. But
wait a minute, Rhodey has been a stand-in involved in different plot lines for Tony Stark, but that's kind of a thing that he's done multiple times because it doesn't actually have to be him inside the armor. Nobody would really know. Then he gets away with not only piloting empty armor, but having other people stand in for him. Like Spider-Man's done that as well in the comics. But Rhodey has never actually taken on the mantle of Iron Man.
Dude, he was Iron Man for like years and years. The whole thing was Stark. Yes, Stark lost all his companies. Whatever the fuck, Stain came in, bought out his company. Stark became such an alcoholic.
What years are we talking about in real time? Is this like a recent storyline or older one?
This is the 80s, man.
The 80s? Okay. All right. Well,
and then Iron Man 200 is when Tony Stark came back, and he came back with the purple armor.
Right.
Well, whatever. It's not purple, but it's definitely not.
Was it possessed by a symbiote alien?
I don't know.
Was this a change that happened after Secret Wars? That was like a nice period for everyone wanted to reset their character and modernize them.
I'm a man! I'm 40!
A tertiary effect of selling lots of toys.
Well, yeah, definitely that.
That was the main purpose of Secret Wars. It was selling toys, selling comic books, and then giving yourself a chance to hopefully get a new audience from the kids who wanted the toys, and then we're going to read more of the comic books.
Yeah,
modernize your character a little bit.
Obadiah Stane, Obadiah, it's a weird fucking comic name, Stane, took over Stark, and Tony Stark relapsed into alcoholism. Rhodes took over as Iron Man and stayed Iron Man. He was a charter member of the West Coast Avengers. He was in the Secret Wars. And then Stark helped Rhodes maintain the armor, but Rhodes' paranoia and hatred made him believe that Stark wanted to retake the armor during a battle, blah, blah, blah. And then it all came together in episode 200 issue 200 where Tony Stark took over the armor again. And Stane committed suicide at the end of that book, which was like a big deal back in, 86, 87 when that came out. Even though they didn't show him, like, blowing his head off in graphic detail, they showed him sticking his gauntlet up to his head and firing.
But where are you getting that information from, Rich? The internet?
Yes, the unreliable internet.
Can't trust Wikipedia. No, we should wrap it up for this episode, but I just wanted to mention, as long as we're talking comic books, real quick, I wanted to get your opinion on this. I don't think you probably haven't been keeping track of the most recent Batman series.
No.
Have you? Okay, so I didn't want to spoil anything for you if you have. And if you are, I guess spoiler alert, and you might as well skip ahead. But the current run of the series that, Batman's in multiple series, but the Batman titled series. So I guess you could say the main Batman, even though Detective is older and that's where he first appeared. In that series, there's been kind of a slow burn of a story from a writer who's done a lot of really fantastic stuff lately, and people were really anticipating what he was going to do with this character. And it hasn't been a whole lot. He does seem to be laying the base for something. The last two issues involve him using Catwoman and some other B-rate characters, villains, to break into Bane's fortress. And during Catwoman's process of breaking in, there's a letter that she wrote to Bruce Wayne, right? And one of these, like...
Not Springsteen?
Why I'm bad and I'm always going to be bad and I'm bad news for all the people around me, and I always fuck everything up in my life and the people around me. And you should probably just stay away from me because you're going to get fucked up too.
It sounds like a Bruce Springsteen song. Did his dad not like him?
Now, in the last issue...
Up on the back of a motorcycle?
And, part of the reason they can get away with this type of format where one issue is all this one theme and it works really well is that these are coming out bi-weekly in a way that actually works for me. It usually doesn't. When every time X-Men has gone bi-weekly, it seems like they're just trying to pack more shit in. But this last week's issue was Batman's process of beating his way through Bane's hundreds of men armed to the teeth, and this gorgeous
sure you don't want to rephrase
that runs through all the pages, and an overlay of his letter to Selena Kyle, where he talks about his own pain and reasons for what he's doing, and how the thing that they had in common was that they were the only two that got it, right? Everyone else would think it was funny, ultimately. He said, if my parents could see me now, they would laugh. What was I doing? Dressing up in a hood and a cowl and a cape with these gadgets, jumping through the air at night. What am I really doing? I've lost my fucking mind. Anyone would laugh. And Catwoman is the only person who saw Batman and didn't get any humor in that understood what he was doing. And he's apparently the only one that he's confessed to as attempting to commit suicide shortly after his
safe space Batman.
Hey, this is the big reveal. Yeah, apparently he attempted to commit suicide shortly after his parents' death, and that was part of his. Basically, he was saying that becoming Batman gave him reason to live and to go on in a very real way. That his attempt at suicide was instrumental in him becoming Batman. And the storyline that has gone through now 4 issues, I think, or 3 issues up until now, is entitled I Am Suicide. And most people took it, like myself, as, well, he's assembling some sort of Suicide Squad, like he's getting some villains together to go against Bane. He's going on a suicide mission, which is invading Bane's fortress where there's hundreds of men armed to the teeth. It turned out to be very literal, because that's what he said in his letter to Catwoman, to Selena Kyle, was that he is suicide. It's this or death. I either do this or there's no point in me living anymore, because this is the only thing that saved me after my parents.
We can't end there. Can't end on that.
I don't know. I like that take on Batman. I mean, it's not drastically different, but he managed to hone an edge on Batman just enough to add to deepen that story in a way that I think it was very successful.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's
you dig it?
Yeah,
Does it make
it's
sense?
Batman.
Is that
Batman's
him acting within character? Do you feel?
Yes.
As a fan of the character, yeah.
Yes, Batman. Okay, once you got past the Golden Age comics and it was, and out of the '60s, they took it back, especially with Year One. Yeah. And The Dark Knight Returns and all that shit. But Batman Year One, they really took it back. And
there's many. I mean, he's taken back to his origins probably more than any other superhero character at this point, I would imagine. Right? Yeah. We've seen the origins retold in many different ways for Batman. And it all involves his parents dying, but everything else varies widely, actually, when you get down to it.
I mean, Batman has, since at least the 70s, it's been, he's a tragic figure. How many Robins has he been through? How many Robins have been killed or, fucked with? How much tragedy has he seen as a character in his life? That's what makes Batman Batman.
Right.
I don't want my Batman well-adjusted.
Well, I think when we're seeing a kind of cycle in comics that we see reflected in our own society.
Doesn't whip the criminal's ass. He's like, hey, you ever thought about why you're doing this?
Batman is a character, while varied in success for a good 2 decades. Eventually in the 60s, with the whole superhero comics kind of boom that happened at that point, that Marvel was actually responsible for, Batman kind of lifted up with them and found a new audience in these kids, right? And what happens is these kids grow up, and some of those want to continue to read about those characters. But those stories are fruity, man. I mean, some of it's just fucking nonsense. Like, as a fan, I've gone back and read plenty of comics from the golden age of comics, and there's a lot of great stuff there, but man, those stories make no fucking sense. And it really does seem geared towards a kid.
Yeah, definitely.
And then in the 70s, you saw, well, we want to still appeal to these people, but they want more serious stories. And what are they getting on film? They're getting a resurgence in more. This is like the birth of independent film happens in the 70s with like Cassavetes and people who not only are willing to take more chances with the medium, but audiences are open to those chances that they're taking. Like Woody Allen, and experimental comedy like Monty Python. So anyway, you have to have a more darker, more adult, more realistic, gritty. That's the Bronze Age, the 70s shit. So I think now we're seeing a lot of people who, I personally grew up on the 80s shit. That kind of leaves me in a weird limbo. The 90s were way wacky, and the storylines went way out of control again. The outfits got way out of control, and I was tuned out. I was into techno and drugs and girls.
So you're also discovering drugs and pussy in the 90s, right, to be fair.
But a lot of people grew up on that, and the shit that went down in the cartoon, they associate that as like in canon stuff. And so now you have audiences that they've grown up. They grew up in the 90s with that version of the characters, and they still want to follow the X-Men and Batman and all those characters, but they need that grittier version, right? And this is where, I mean, DC is still appealing to this audience that is calling for these, not only in their comics, but in their movies. Even though their movies get criticized by the fans, they still go and see them because they're offering them that version that they want ultimately. even if the script or there's plot holes or anything, all these things that they're willing to overlook as comic book fans in general, because it's just part of being a fan, is knowing that, like, at some point editorial is going to let you down no matter how great the writer is, no matter how good the artist is. The deadline for getting them out every month is going to fuck something up. Life is going to happen. And one writer is going to take a direction somewhere else, and the next writer is going to kill off your favorite character.
Nothing will keep us together.
Holy.
There you go. I'm sorry, that turned out to be a very long rant on comics, didn't it? Definitely should wrap it up for this one.
Do my best not to glaze over here.
I know. Thanks for hanging in with us.
The people listen, they like it. Everybody likes it. I sit here and produce.
I don't know. All I know is what I read on the internet. I don't know if you can trust it, but I hear that people really like superheroes. So maybe there might be an audience out there for this show.
You've seen the box office receipts. There is an audience.
Yes.
I may not be part of it. I'll let you guys go. But here, wait.
Well,
it's built up.
You guys have, I guess I really need my own comic book podcast is what it comes down to. 'Cause I was going to say, you guys can talk about sports, but wait a minute. You already do that.
Yeah, we do it.
You already have a complete outlet for that.
Sporgy, by the way, on iTunes and
There you go.
ChristopherMedia.net. If you check that out. But yeah, sweet.
Someday a a comic book podcast.
One day.
I still got to find a co-host. That's what it comes down to.
Or a podcast about comic books that are about sports. Ooh, there
man.
And then like 2 in the history of time. Maybe there's probably a Harlem Globetrotters comic book at some point.
It has to be. That's the only thing I can think of.
At this point,
like
if you get niche enough, there's a podcast for everything, and a way to support it even, because you could have 30 people that their minds are blown that you're covering just sports-related comic books, that they're willing to fork over like $30 a year just to pay your
and let's
cover
be honest,
your cost on production.
They'd be white
involved
guys.
in that.
Let's be honest, they'd be white, because I mean that's someone having some crazy
You
disposable
do it
income
for Patreon,
too.
and they're like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'd support that.
I'll give these guys $1,000 every month to keep this podcast going. That's rich whitey shit right there. But yeah, maybe you are this rich. We have a donate button. You can hit it. It's on ChristopherMedia.net. Goddamn Russian hackers.
Did they get us?
I gotta make a call after this. I gotta make a call after this podcast. They got us last year. They got us. I thought I paid for an extra level of security after last year's debacle, but no. Apparently, now. Hopefully, by the time you hear this, like it's uploaded to the site, so you can go to ChristopherMedia.net and hear it. But it's not. The site is now not interfacing with everything, so stuff isn't like uploading to iTunes. It's still getting to the site.
This is the new reality. You only learn to deal with it. It's like we never cured AIDS. We just made it so it doesn't kill you so much anymore.
Most of the sites that get blocked, I get a list, are from Russia. I'm just pointing out facts, people. I know it's a dirty word in this day and age. I use the F word, facts.
You're going to have to get used to metaphorically pissing in the radiator. It's the new reality. The Russians are going to own the internet because Trump's going to give it to them.
Well, there's pissing in the radiator and then there's beating off into a ceiling fan. It's like the only 2 options we got nowadays.
That's our distraction from keeping us from realizing that we're going to be pissing in the radiator. I don't know. That's my general euphemism now for the Russians are taking over.
We're always so full of fun and sunshine and positivity on this podcast.
Yeah. You asked, earlier you said, didn't anything good happen? And it was Rogue One, which we talked about the protest of. So the answer ultimately is yes, good things happened. And no, we can't have good things.
Dude, it's just like when they protested fucking episode 7.
Right.
I can't even take it serious, dude.
How good? Okay, I think in the 50s, if a man punched a kangaroo, that would be a good thing, right? That's something you would see like in a show. Right?
Kangaroo boxing there's videos of it on the internet, and they're not that old.
It'd be some dude
it still happens.
Pants pulled up to right under his nipples.
And let me tell you something.
Bare knuckled.
Let me tell you something. The video I watched of kangaroo boxing.
All I'm saying is there's a balance. There's
The video I watched of kangaroo boxing, the kangaroo beat the shit out of the guy.
They mostly do. You don't want to fuck with the kangaroo, even if you got them on reach and size. Don't fool yourself.
So everybody out there like, oh, poor kangaroo. No, the average kangaroo will fuck up your average human. Okay, just everybody calm down.
Right. It's a velociraptor with personality.
Exactly.
Don't be fooled.
Look, I mean, think about this. That's all lean muscle. You ever seen a fat kangaroo? No. Just imagine if that's a human. A human with no % body fat walks up to you.
First
what
of
do you
all,
think's going to happen?
Not only that, do you ever see them walking? You know what they do when they're not bouncing on their feet? They're doing this walk thing where they use their tail. Instead of, we walk with 2 legs, and an animal will walk with 4 where it alternates left and right in most cases. And only when running will they run with both feet together. But a kangaroo, when it either hops on its 2 legs, which have huge muscles, or it walks by using its tail like a crutch. So tail, 2 legs hop forward, tail in the middle, 2 legs hop forward. It walks like a tripod. Cat is... Like, what the fuck? Cat. Are we in a ship that's like experiencing some disturbance? It sounded like creaking. You probably can't hear that going on over there. All right. I think Rich fell asleep. I think anyone listening fell asleep.
All right.
If we're passing out on the podcast, then yeah.
Hey, Jay still holds the record. Falling audibly, falling asleep.
I'm no good at goodbyes.
This should be our new theme song. Hey kids, welcome on Retro.
Yeah. We got rename this podcast "Why We Can't Have Nice Things."
Yeah,
this is why.
This should just be Donald Trump. Why we can't have nice things. It should just be our new flag. It's what happens.
Donald Trump, because you get what you deserve.
I did have a thought this year. To me, 2016 is the year the internet jumped the shark to where I now think it is the best / worst invention ever. Like, trust me, it has done wonders for us technology-wise, connecting us.
We got to wrap it up.
I know, but
I really want to say for next time, basically, every story that you read about the internet, take out all the references to the internet in that story and just read it about a piece about human nature and see if that makes sense. And if that does, then that story is true. And if not, then the story is bullshit and it's just about technology. Because it's never about the technology. We always have technology. It's about what we do with it.
Maybe everyone shouldn't be able to.
Technology does not change us. The internet has not changed us. Smartphones has not changed us.
Our behavior
remains consistent in what we are interested in. You're interested in being fed, getting laid, being sheltered, getting money, having toys, seeing other people have toys and be naked and have sex, and all that shit. Our interests have not changed.
People fucking in a Range Rover.
I'm sick of stories about how the internet and devices and we're addicted to this and that. And that's why I said
we're just having a light shown on the dark side of our nature.
Next time on Unregimented. Thank you, people, for listening.
Yeah.
Where do they follow us on Twitter?
At UnregimentedPod. You can email unregimented@christophermedia.net. Like, share, all that fun, happy horse shit. Retweet. More people listen every month.
Tell people, rate us.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 of the best things that you can do. Let other people know.
Hopefully by the time this is posted, you're able to get it back on iTunes.
Retweet us. If you like something we said on an episode, retweet us on the tweeter.
Yeah, the tweeter. Yeah. Wow,
on the woofer.
Sound older. And then on the Twitter there. But thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Later, guys.
If you enjoy this show and want more people to know about it, head on over to iTunes, leave a comment, and rate it 5 stars. Make sure you like and share us on Facebook, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Just search for Christopher Media. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Most importantly, we would like to take the time to extend an extra special thanks to you. Christopher Media could not exist without your support. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening. Christopher Media. Let's make some noise. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new. Our